Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly. This is Grizzly True Crime, and today we're going to be watching day 7 of the Leilani Simon trial together. She's 24 years old, a mother of 3. One was allegedly murdered by her and thrown in the trash. And that happened on October 5th of 2022. She was arrested on November 21st of 2022 after they discovered his partial remains in a landfill. And here we are at this trial now, finally, which is lasting 2 to 3 weeks. So we're obviously in week 2 of the trial. It's been, wow, like already riveting so far. She's facing 19 charges, right? 15 of those are for false reports to the police, basically lying to the police. I think the state has proven that. The other 4 charges relate to concealing the death of another. I think they've proven that because, you know, all the surveillance footage and everything, putting Quinton Simon, who was 20 months old, in a dumpster. Now, the others are felony murder and murder charges. So under different codes, that's why there's 3 of them. But those, I think the state they're still busy proving those, right? Because I know even just from our chat that some people still have some doubt of like, how do we know that she did it? Because they found only partial remains and therefore they don't know exactly how Quinton was killed. Either way, I think the state's doing a really great job. They've been showing timelines, presentations. We love all the bullet points, the videos, the order that they've had the witnesses in and all of that. And today, I'm so excited to see today. You know why? Because yesterday and the day before as well, last week, they said that they would like to bring on Craig Weston and his cousin, which were dealers giving Leilani, her substances back then. And Leilani has sex with a dealer that night, October 4th of 2022, right? And so when she came back, somewhere in that time frame, Quinton was killed and his body was taken to the dumpster 2.7 miles away from home. This case happens in Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. It happened on Buckhalter Road, okay? So we might see the dealers on the stand today because the state has managed to get that in and added them to the witness list. The defense attorney still wants to speak to them and all that. But if they are on the stand today, oh my goodness, buckle up. We're going to hear some salacious texts from that night, as the state prosecutor said. And I think Leilani is going to she's going to want to hide under that table. It's going to be so hectic. So thank you so much all for being here. Welcome to all my moderators. Thank you so much for everything you do. Welcome to all my patrons, members, subscribers, any locals in chat. There's lots of locals actually that have emailed me and that are in chat as well. Family and friends of Quinton Simon, welcome to you as well. All right, if you missed any of the other days, there's a trial prep video. You can get all caught up in the case in no time, and it's on the playlist for you. It's in the description box. And there's also obviously day 1 to 6, all time stamped for you. So check the pinned comments or the description box or hover over the video and you'll see when all the witnesses were on. Okay, you can just skip to exactly which ones you want to see again or for the first time. Crochet Mama said, thank you so much, Gisla, for covering this case. It's a hard one. Let's hope Quinton gets justice. I really hope so. I really hope so. So I'm ready. Are you ready? Today we're using the Court TV pool cameras here. On the other days, I've switched between Court TV, Law and Crime, and WTOC. So let me say again, if anyone's new here and you do not like a freaking YouTuber stopping the stream and making commentary, then this is not the place for you. You need to go and watch on Court TV, Law and Crime, or WTOC, or all the pool cameras, because there's no commentary there and you could just watch it, right? Over here, the perk is you're not going to get any coffee breaks, lunch breaks, anything like that. That might not sound like a perk, but it's really great when we could just skip over that, which is why we start later. That Mickey, thank you so much. Okay, guys, are we ready? I boosted the sound for us. Here we go with day 7 of the Leilani Simon trial.
Chatham County Superior Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Tammy Stokes presiding. Please be seated and come to order.
Good morning, everyone. Okay. I gotta go through my little routine here when I get situated.
Judge Tammy Stokes.
I guess one thing that we can do is bring Miss Simon out.
Yes, and then the jury.
And good morning to everybody else in the courtroom today.
Is his friend there today? I hope so. Courtroom's friend.
All right, it appears that everybody is in place. We are on the record in the case of the state of Georgia versus Leilani Simon. And this is SPCR 22-03364J6. The state is present at council table. Miss Leilani Marie Simon is present with her counsel at her table. Good morning to you all. Is there anything that we need to take up before we bring in the jury? And I'll turn first to the state.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. And to the defense.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Nothing? Nothing from the defense on this morning? Sandy says, I watched the replay of you and Peter. I loved it. I watched with you throughout this case. If you guys have not seen where I was a guest on the Lawyer You Know show, go and check out that video and leave some comments there. Thank you to everyone who's left some comments there already. You guys are so sweet. We did discuss this case, the Leilani Simon trial, and all the legal questions that I had for him. It was a great opportunity because I could actually ask him as many legal questions as I liked, right? That I could fit into an hour. So I asked him lots of questions about Sarah Boone's trial, Leilani Simon's trial, and also the Delphi trial. So go check that out. His channel is called The Lawyer You Know. His name is Peter Tragos. So I'm sure many of you know. I'm just saying it in case you don't. All right. So nothing from the state, nothing from the defense. Let's see now. Remember to bring the jury in and let's keep going.
Please bring in the jury.
Jurors entering.
Oh no, where's his friend? Remember, we like the camaraderie between this courtroom guy here and his friend. There's a new lady here. So I hope the friend is okay. Maybe she's got a cold or something. You know, I don't know. Hope she's okay. Hope she knows we miss her. And I really like, is that the bailiff, right? There's like jurors entering. The way she says it, I'm going to miss that when this trial is over.
All right. Thank you, Williams. Please have a seat. And good morning. Welcome back. We're going to launch right in. Of course, I have to ask you the question. Has anybody read any news media, observed any news media, watched any TV shows, just talked with anyone about the case, allowed anyone to talk with you about the case?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and with that then, we are going to begin. I'll turn to the state.
State calls Joe Matz.
I'm sorry. Did you pronounce that wrong, sir? You mean Craig Weston? Not Joe Matz, not Craig Weston. I can't wait till he says that. The state calls Craig Weston. We'll be like, oh my word, here we go. Okay, let's keep going.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Step this way, please.
All right, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Good morning, my name is Joe Matz. I'm the division manager for Waste Pro.
And how do you spell your last name, sir?
It is M-A-T-Z.
What is Waste Pro?
Waste Pro is a solid waste hauling company. We pick up trash, basically.
And you said you're a division manager or the division manager?
The division manager.
Which division?
My division is located in South Carolina, but we oversee parts of Georgia.
Where do you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Specifically Savannah and the surrounding areas.
And so where do you work on a day-to-day basis? Where's your office?
It's in Hardyville, South Carolina.
And you mentioned that you all service the Savannah area.
Yes, sir.
Tell me how that works. What is involved in being a solid waste hauling company, I think you said?
Yeah, so obviously we have trash trucks that go out into the community on a daily basis from a residential aspect, from a commercial aspect, and then from a construction aspect. So we collect garbage at different, for example, residential homes, commercial businesses, and then construction sites.
What kind of different trucks do you all run?
So we have rear loaders, which are residential trucks where men are on the back of the truck. We have trucks called ASLs, which they're automated side loaders, which the arm comes out and picks up the trash. Then we have commercial trucks that basically go behind 7-Elevens. They pick up the bin, dump the bin, put the bin back down and go away. And then we have trucks that service construction sites. They're long boxes that we pick up and take to the landfill.
Now, I'd like to draw your attention to the days following October 5th, 2022. At some point you were contacted by Randall Noble of the Chatham County Police Department.
Yes, sir.
Prior to being contacted by him, had you heard anything of the disappearance of Quinton Simon?
No, sir.
Okay, so Randall Noble was the first you heard about this.
Yes, sir.
And did he ask you whether you could identify which Waste Pro truck had serviced the dumpsters at Azalea Mobile Home Plaza in Savannah on the morning of October 5th, 2022?
Yes, he did.
And were you able to tell him that information?
Yes, sir.
How did you do that?
So every day the drivers are assigned route sheets. And so we go into our database, look up Azalea Mobile Home Park, for example. It will tell us what driver, what route he is on that day.
And did
Okay, let's take a pause. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping. I know you guys like it when I do that as well. Impots is already helping. Can we please not comment on this witness's appearance or any of the witnesses' appearances? Many of the witnesses, they watch the replays of this and they often will email me and tell me that they feel so welcome here. They're so thankful, that everybody's so kind. And so I really want to keep it that way because it would be great to speak to some of these people after the trial as well, right? We want to welcome them. They're all here fighting for justice for Quinton, whether they had to be there or wanted to be there. They are helping fight for justice for Quinton, and that's what we are all here for. So I would really like to be kind to the witnesses always. I want that to be our standard here. The mods do their best to, help with that. There's sometimes so many people in chat that sometimes there's a little trend that starts with people commenting on a witness's appearance. So let's not do that, okay? So let's hear what they've got to say. That's important. Let's hear the information. I know sometimes elsewhere, if you're new here, people do that, but we don't do that over here, okay? Vanessa said, I love watching this trial with G's unique style. That rhymes. Thank you so much.
Detective Noble also asked you whether you could tell him where that truck had gone after servicing the dumpsters at Azalea Mobile Home Plaza.
Yes, sir.
And were you able to tell him that?
Yes, sir.
How were you able to tell him that?
Our trucks are equipped with GPS system. So basically, any stop that they go to, we have what's called these little breadcrumbs from the GPS. So breadcrumb will, once we identify the truck, it will show us where the truck is at a specific time and then where it goes throughout the whole day.
Now, if you can do this from memory, I'll ask you. If not, we can just get right into the documents. Do you remember what truck it was that had serviced those dumpsters that morning?
Yes, sir.
What truck was it?
It was 3909.
And who was the driver of that truck?
The driver is Tawan Lee.
Chuan Lee?
Yes.
TWAN?
Yes, sir.
What type of truck was it that serviced those dumpsters?
It's a commercial truck.
By which you mean, you described the various types earlier. What do you mean by that exactly?
So the commercial trucks, again, they're the ones that pick up the smaller containers. The truck will dump it. At that time, once the truck services the equipment, the container gets put back in place. The driver will then compact the load, smashing its contents, and then moving forward to the next stop, or in this particular case, the landfill.
When you were describing how this particular
Definitely done his homework before the trial.
truck,
Sorry, let me not pause him with his eyes closed. I was just showing you what I'm fetching quickly. I love stationery, and so I got a new Tipex because I actually use it. I use it a lot on all my notes that I'm making here. If I make a mistake, I don't like to scribble it out. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, let's keep going.
works, you sort of extended your arms out in front of you. Are you referring to the front-loading type that slides arms into the slots on the side of a dumpster and then lifts it up and back?
That is correct.
Okay. And you mentioned a compactor in the truck. Can you describe that?
Yeah, so all trash trucks have compactors in them, whether residential or commercial. The reason for the compaction is obviously that from a productivity standpoint, we want to pick up as many stops as we can. So the trucks are operated through hydraulics. And once the trash is in the body of the truck, the compactor is pushed, and then it pushes back and just condenses the load so that we're able to maximize the load.
Can you tell us anything about how powerful the compactor might have been in truck 3909? I understand you're a division manager, not an engineer, but I wonder if you know.
Well, the compaction ratio, quite honestly, I couldn't give you 120 pounds per square, foot or whatever per pressure, but it will smash everything in the unit, including wood, glass, whatever's in there will be smashed.
Okay. You've talked about being able to tell Detective Noble that it was truck 3909. It was driven by Chuan Lee, and being able to tell him where that truck then went after servicing those dumpsters on the morning of October 5th at Azalea. I don't know whether I've asked for this. Where did that truck go after that?
It went to the landfill,
Which landfill would that be?
Superior Landfill.
Is that the one off Little Neck Road?
It is the one off Little Neck Road.
Okay. And what did it do there? Perhaps it's obvious, but I'll ask you.
Yeah, so when the trucks arrive at the landfill, they're scaled 1 inch for the weight, and then as they go up to the landfill, they'll go up to the face of the landfill. They're directed to dump their load in a particular spot. Once that truck is empty, it will go back down. It's weighed out. We receive a ticket for the time and also how many tons were on that particular load.
Okay. And they get that by, I guess, subtracting the known weight of the truck from the weight of the truck and it entered with all the trash or something?
Correct.
Were you able to provide Detective Noble with any documentation of these things that you've been talking about, the route sheet and GPS printout and so forth?
Yes, sir.
Do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 65?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize that document?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what it is?
So this is his daily route sheet that he fills out prior to the start of the day and then at the end of the day.
Now, are these records that are created in the ordinary course of business?
Yes, sir.
And are they maintained in the ordinary course of business?
Yes, sir.
In fact, that's why you were able to produce it for Detective Noble.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as States Exhibit 65. No objection, Your Honor. Now, do you see in front of you a document marked as State's Exhibit 66?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And what is it?
So that's our GPS tracking system with the breadcrumbs on it.
Is that also a document that's created and maintained in the ordinary course of business?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as State's Exhibit 66. No objection, Your Honor. And may I publish these exhibits, Your Honor?
Yes.
All right. Can you see the screen all right from where you're at?
Pretty much.
There's
What the hell is Leilani so busy writing to her attorneys today? She is using that notepad and showing the whole time. She's like, okay. And the defense attorney's like, what? Yes, I'm writing notes for you. Like, what is it, Leilani?
I don't know whether that one's better for you.
I can see that.
Do you mind, if you prefer to stay seated, let me know, but would you mind just stepping down and kind of walking us through these different entries on here and what they mean?
Sure. So, again, this just says that this is Route 405, indicating that that's Taiwan Lee's Wednesday route. Worker is Taiwan Lee here, role as the driver. Punch-in time is 1:33 a.m. in the morning. We start really early. Also note what time he left the yard is 1:45.
Does WP yard there, what does WPYD mean?
Waste pro yard.
All right, is that just like where the trucks sit when they're not being used?
It's the facility, yes.
Okay.
And then this is what time he arrives back at the facility, and then this is his punch-out time.
Okay.
Mary said that they had results back proving it was Quinton before being arrested. Yes, they found partial remains on November 18th. They tested that because they already had Henry Baba Moss's DNA and Leilani's from buccal swabs, and then they proved it was Quinton's partial remains, and then they arrested Leilani on the same day, November 21st of 2022, and she's been in the Chatham County jail ever since, and she's been complaining about it, saying the lights are just left on too long. Okay, dinner is served too early. All right, she's running out of crayon, out of coloring pencil, she said. Wow, okay, and there's just not enough entertainment.
Let me move down and see what the next thing we want to talk about is, okay? In this box here, these first two entries here where it says destination sup, does that refer to Superior landfill?
It does.
Can you walk us through these two lines here?
Yeah, so again, it just pretty much tells what vehicle it is for the day, tells you what kind of truck it is, the destination, obviously, Superior landfill. If we were to go to any other landfill, it would be marked as such. The date, obviously, the material is commercial, not residential, like I spoke before. These are just the weights of the truck, the tonnage that was on the truck, and then these are arrival times to the fill.
So how many times did this truck go to Superior landfill that day?
So he went twice.
And what were the two times for those stops?
So the 6:25 in the morning left at 6:35, and then here at Superior at 10:12, and then 10:32.
Can we take from that simply that part of the way through his list of stops, the truck was full and needed to be emptied or something along those lines?
Right, correct. So he starts early in the morning. So
Okay.
by the time the landfill is open, he's full. So that explains the first one. The second one is we don't want to start off the following day with a loaded truck. So he may not go back with as many tons. And exactly in this particular case, he only had 4.37 tons on, but the truck needed to be emptied that day.
I see. Now, starting on top of page 2 here, is this just the list of places that he was servicing that day?
That is correct.
And are these in order from, first to last?
Yes.
I'd like to scroll down to the last entry. What does the last entry reflect on this route sheet?
Azalea Mobile Home Park.
In the, this column quantity there, what does that refer to?
That refers to the number of containers that are at a stop.
All right, so what does that 5 mean there then?
That means that there were 5 separate individual containers.
And that
We actually had a look at that. It's timestamp for you. I think it was on day 3. We did some map time. So wherever you see map time on the timestamps, we actually drove around and looked at those dumpsters. And they, if I recall, there were 5 of them. There were at least 4 or 5 of them. Here they say there were 5. And they collected that at that Azalea Mobile Home Park, which was only 2.7 miles from where Leilani stayed, obviously at her mother's house on Buckhalter Road. And where the dumpsters were, it was really close to Missy Bray's home and the, what's it called? The Chevron gas station where Leilani said she had been to get the aura gel. Yeah, that's why she made up the story, because it's all in proximity. She actually, the family knew the dumpsters. You know, it wasn't the first time she'd been there because they didn't want to pay a service fee for their trash cans to be collected at their house. They just dropped off their trash at the dumpster. Normally, Danny said when he lived there, he did that, but not in that vehicle because that Dodge had like material at the back in the boot, as we would call it. What do you guys call it again? The trunk? Yeah, in the trunk. And so they would normally use the other vehicle. So he found it strange that she went in the Dodge to the dumpster. And of course, at like 1 o'clock in the morning, you know, just to take out some trash. Initially, the story was to get some Oragel. That changed. Later, she said she combined it. She went out to throw out some stinky shrimp pasta. What? And yesterday we saw some video where she said how she threw out the trash. Like she literally she opened the trash bag and smelled it before putting it in the dumpster. That is bizarre. But given the situation, knowing that her son was very likely in a trash bag, yeah, that's still bizarre. It's horrible. Also, when they said, well, we're searching the landfill and we believe that your son is in it, she said, why? He wasn't even in the bag. That was her response. Wow. Okay. So that's why they're showing this Azalea Mobile Home Park trash collection here. 5 dumpsters, 5 containers that they had taken that day, which was October 5th of 2022. And around 9:30 is normally when they would fetch it there. And it seems like Leilani may have known it because she waited for that. Then called 911 at 9:38-ish, right?
he serviced them all.
Yes.
Now moving to State's Exhibit 66. It's maybe a little hard to make out, at least it is for me from here, but can you just walk us through what this is?
Again, these are just basically the GPS system tracking the truck. So you can see where he's at his last stop, and then the breadcrumbs will just follow down to the landfill, and it tracks it over to the landfill.
Okay, so he's at Azalea Mobile Home Plaza at about 9:45 or so, and then is it the landfill sometime shortly thereafter?
Correct.
And at that point, if Quinton Simon was in those dumpsters,
Actually, I honor calls for speculation.
I'll just withdraw your honor.
Okay, thank you.
One moment, please.
The defense is ready. Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation. Okay, now if you are a member, refresh this page now, right? Because I made a new little emoji for you, and it's bubbles with a little triangle of cheese on it. Because Quinton loved bubbles, and the babysitter also said he loved cheese. So I saw someone just make a suggestion of having an emoji to, we've already got the blue hearts for Quinton, but I made a little one with bubbles and a piece of cheese, okay, for Quinton, if you want to use that. All right.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may have a seat. Is there any cross-examination?
There it is, Judge, thank you. Mr. Matz, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing well, sir.
I'm going to ask you, do you still have a copy of State's Exhibit 65 in front of you? If you don't, I can provide you a copy.
I do, sir.
I was curious, there's a handwritten note on the top of that that says 10-5, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And down in the body, next to the destination, but before the material, in the middle of the page, it says July 6th, 2022. Well, what's the discrepancy here?
To be perfectly honest, I don't know what the 10-5 would be. I just know what the 10-6 would be.
All right. And, okay, can I approach for a second?
Sure.
Sure. Can you show me the 10-6 that you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
On the second page,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
All right. So which 10-6 are you referring to? I see a 7-6, but I don't see a 10-6 here.
Trying to find any error in that documentation.
Must have been a misprint.
All right. Is it safe to say that these are accurate records for July 6th of 2022, based on everything except for the handwritten note at the top?
No, what this could have been is when typically they put this into the system. So the Wednesday generation would be 7/6, but the actual date that they're operating off of, because the route sheets don't change, so when you put them in, they pretty much stay in the system. So this would tell me that this was entered in on 7/6, but not the route sheet for 7/6.
Well, yeah, but you've just testified that this was the route on 10-5, and that's not what your business records say. There's a serious discrepancy, don't you think?
Well, I think there's a discrepancy in basically the date that these were put into the system, but not the route sheet. This route sheet is particular for that date.
Okay, but not based upon the writing that's on your own records, though, correct?
That would appear so.
So let's go ahead and talk about the actual collection, the route itself, okay? So the route that this particular driver takes, how long has Mr. Lee been working for you at this point in time?
Mr. Lee has been working with us since about March or April of 4/22.
Okay, so March or April of 2022?
Yes.
So about 6 months. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
a fair estimate?
Yes, sir.
And let's just run through State's Exhibit. The route starts at GSU, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, at least 11 pickups on the Georgia Southern campus, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and there can be, it looks to me, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, it looks to me like they're all single dumpsters with just one double dumpster pickup, correct?
That's his standard line that depends. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm amazed that if he's obviously nitpicking, I mean, we do like accuracy in the records, of course, but yesterday when the FBI had their reports of Leilani's cell phone activity, on top it said the date range was from 2002 instead of 2022. So I'm surprised it didn't go after that.
Correct.
Okay, and that's on the south side of Savannah, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then it looks like the next pickup is on Ogeechee Road. Is that correct?
What page are you on?
I'm on the, here, I'm on the page, top of page 3.
Right.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah. So, and just out of curiosity, I mean, are these going in order, or is there a set route that would minimize use of gas?
Typically, they're in order, but the driver, depending on what's happening for the day, if there is an accident or some form of obstruction, he may have to veer off, pick up something different, but come right back to the route.
So at least based upon this, starts on the south side at Georgia Southern, goes over to Geechee Road. The next one, it looks like it's and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Herstand Hall, which probably is a SCAD pickup if I'm not mistaken, downtown, right? On Martin Luther King?
It doesn't indicate whether it's SCAD or not, but I'm assuming that's SCAD, yes, sir.
I mean, I don't know either. I'm making that assumption just based on what it looks. But it's like there's 3 pickups there. Then it's Dollar General, Shop and Go, G&H, downtown, York Street, Petter Hall, I'm sorry, an apartment building, SCAD, Shop and Go, Atwell's, downtown, Checkers, a bank. Then it goes out Abercorn. And I assume all of this is happening during the course of the night, correct?
Correct.
So it's a number of stops, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said it's a commercial truck. So, and again, my understanding is it has 2 of those big things that come out the front. Forks, comes out, goes in, picks up, dumps it in the back, and then sets it down, pulls out, and goes to the next one, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's the right equipment. So there were a number of stops. How many stops are in a normal route?
It varies from day to day. On this particular day, he had a total of 56 stops.
Okay. And it's 72 total containers
Yes, sir.
and over 500 total yards of trash, correct?
Correct.
And was this encompassing both sets of routes or just his one early route?
Both routes. I mean, both sets of it during the loads. If you're speaking load-wise, it encompasses both loads.
Okay. And let's talk about the GPS route in the State's Exhibit 66. This is not the entire route. This is not the entire GPS history for the truck for this particular day, is it?
No, sir.
Okay. This is just it looks like a portion of it. And I can't make it out, but I'm going to assume it looks like it's just a portion going down a Geechee Road, then out a Geechee Road, then over to, it looks like the landfill, if I'm not mistaken. Does that seem like a good summation?
That is correct.
Okay. And it doesn't have any of these other routes that I just discussed?
No, sir.
Okay. But you're saying that this does, right?
Yeah, I mean, he would follow this route.
So there were how many stops on a Geechee Road that you're aware of, or near a Geechee Road?
I'm not aware, I mean, I would have to look at his document and study it. I'm not familiar with every stop that every driver services.
And I assume that every place on a Geechee Road doesn't necessarily use y'all, does it?
That's correct.
Okay. There are other waste companies that service those areas, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And with regard to the dump, I assume you're not the only company that uses the dump either, are you?
No, sir.
Okay. I assume that, and I'll ask, how many dumps are there in Savannah for commercial waste?
The only one that we use is Superior, so I'm not sure in Savannah if there's any other landfills that some private companies operate.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, are there any other landfills?
In Savannah?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay. So is it safe to say that pretty much all the commercial trash collected by all the different companies go to the same landfill and get deposited in the same place, to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
That's all the questions I got. Thank you, Judge.
I'd like to ask you a couple questions, see if we.
So I think what he's trying to do is, obviously create reasonable doubt that maybe the trash was picked up from the house or another dumpster or something else, right? That it's not that one where Leilani was. Maybe Leilani really was, according to the defense, throwing out pasta. You see? So if he's just asked the witness, well, doesn't all the trash go there? And he said, yes. Well, then he's obviously trying to still, that's his job, to defend his client, to create the reasonable doubt that what if somebody else put Quinton in the trash? Because there's no disputing that Quinton's partial remains were found in the trash. So what he's trying to dispute is, well, there could be many ways that he could have ended up there. It's just much less likely, right? Okay, let's keep going. Redirect.
We can clarify this date thing, okay? In this block here, where we have notations about when this truck went to the landfill that day, the date typed in here is July 6, 2022, right?
Correct.
Okay. You said something on cross-examination about how that would have been the day that this route sheet was created, but then the route sheets don't change. Can you explain what you mean by that, just to make it as clear as we possibly can?
Yes, so we typically, and when I'm looking at this, what this probably tells me is that there was a reroute that took place. And so whoever was inputting that route, the total in totality on that route, put that into the system that day. But it will spit out every Wednesday the same route sheet that obviously is here.
And then the driver uses that existing route sheet, making notations with like a pen on it on future days, right?
Correct.
And this is the version that Twan Lee used on October 5th.
Correct.
Okay. Let me just draw your attention to one thing in particular. In other words, well, let me ask you this. How many blanks does this route sheet have for stops at the landfill? I mean, not how many notations are made, how many blanks are there?
For this particular here?
Yeah.
Well, typically the drivers only pick up 2 loads. Very rarely that they would pick up 3, but there would be obviously room for 1 more if he took a load to the landfill.
Okay. And in terms of when this route sheet says that he got to the landfill for the second time, what does it say there on October 5th?
It says that he got there at 10:12.
Now, going to State 66, if we compare that to the GPS printout from October 5th, what does that say?
It says 10:12.
All right, so those are in alignment, right?
Yes.
And this is the route sheet that was used on October 5th of 2022.
Correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
This chair actually looks very comfortable. Random comment. Look at it. So much cushioning. Oh my word. I need to get one of those. Okay.
I was just curious, Mr. Matz, since Mr. Dean was talking about what's in alignment and what's not. On State's Exhibit 65, oh, sorry, thought I had it turned on. On State's Exhibit 65, I was wondering, there are a lot of hand-marked things on it, but you said that you believe that the 7/6 date was input because there was some change to the route. Right?
Correct.
Okay. And do you know what that change was?
Well, what I'm assuming is that, so
No, I mean, what I'm asking is if you particularly know. Do you know if there was a change or not, or are you just speculating?
I would be speculating.
And it's the same thing here, that whenever you're relying on these records from your computer at your office, okay, I'm going to assume you weren't riding with Mr. Lee that day, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So all you can do is rely on these records, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if there's any discrepancy or any issue or anything that's not correct in them, then you would be relying on faulty information, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll quite a second. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys all make a very good point. So Marie says the exact point of where baby Q was found could only be in that particular area of the landfill, so why waste time? And it still took them a month, even though they knew the exact area. They'd like a square area, right? This is where that trash went. This is where we believe we need to search. And that's where, after a month, they found Quinton Simon's partial remains. Yeah, that rules out any doubt of Leilani putting Quinton in that particular dumpster, because if it was just in any other one on the route, they would have never found him. You know, they'd have to search that entire landfill. Can you imagine? I mean, just searching an area that they'd narrowed down took a month. Imagine a whole landfill. I mean, what a mission. That's like Mission Impossible. This was already such a low chance of them even finding Quinton's partial remains, and partial because of the compacting, right? From the dumpster and the trash compactors into the landfill, then it gets compacted more and all of that. Oh my goodness. So I'm so glad they did. Imagine if they didn't. They worked so hard. If you missed yesterday's witness testimony, there were some really great FBI special agents on, and they actually showed pictures of how they had put, there was a FBI special agent, Solomon, who made sure to put Quinton's remains that were in these little bags, you know, to transport them, but in a box with the American flag all over it. And she made it really special. And she said that, you know, Quinton rode with me in the back of the car, you know, in that box. And she transported the remains safely. She didn't want to like FedEx it or something. And she was more emotional than Leilani's ever been, right? Leilani worked really hard to get out 2 tears, one from each eye. She was working hard when the camera was on her there, in my opinion. So, okay, let's keep going.
Anything further from this witness?
Tell me what you know, why do route sheets get changed? I mean, Mr. Hilliard got you to say that you would be speculating, but how long have you been in solid waste removal?
Since 19 BC.
What?
1976.
Oh, how long have you been in waste management? Since 19 BC. He's like, okay, since 1976. Oh, man.
Why does a route sheet get changed?
Typically, a route sheet may change. The route sheet doesn't change. What changes would be what we have an exception list. So, for example, if a stop would come on or come off, it would just be notated in the front of the route sheet.
Okay. In any case, this route sheet is the one that was printed out and used by hand on October 5th, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't have any further questions, Judge.
May this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sir, you are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, the state may call its next witness.
Donnard Johnson.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes. Step this way, please.
All right, good morning.
He's a grizzly, right? Our outfits almost match. Look at that. Nice choice, sir.
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, sir?
My name is Donnard Johnson, and with Waste Management. I've been there over 23 years in the business.
And is Waste Management different from Waste Pro?
That's correct. We're considered WM.
What does WM do?
Before you go further, Mr. Johnson, will you spell your first name and last name?
It's Donnard, Donnard, and last name Johnson, Johnsson.
All right, thank you.
It's Donnard, not Donnard.
Donnard.
I need to apologize to you for mispronouncing your name for the past 2 years. Okay. What is your position at WM?
I'm the senior district manager for the coastal sites.
And what are your duties in that position?
I run the overall operation, environmental safety, compliance, and also the P&L.
Does that include oversight of landfill operations?
That's correct.
Does WM operate landfills?
Yes, sir.
How many landfills do you oversee in one capacity or another?
3.
And what are they?
One in Savannah, that's a Superior landfill, and 2 in Ridgeland, South Carolina.
All right. You mentioned that you've been with, you said you've been with Waste Management for a long, long time, or did you mean in the waste management field generally?
So I worked for Waste Management in the early 2000s, and I departed 3 years and then went back to work for them.
Can you describe the positions you've held and how you've worked your way up in this industry over the years?
I started out as a heavy equipment operator. Then I worked my way up the rank as a site supervisor, operation manager, and district manager, and then a senior district manager.
And that's the position that you're in today, right?
Yes, sir.
Were you involved in the operation of the Waste Management Superior landfill in Chatham County in November of 2022?
Yes, sir.
Now, do you remember meeting with me in my office maybe a month or 2 ago?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember me asking you for just kind of the basics of how landfills work?
Yes, sir.
Because I didn't really know anything about landfills. And do you remember referring me to a YouTube video produced by the company you work for, Waste Management?
Yes, sir.
You told me this is like 2 minutes and it'll kind of get you up to speed on landfills generally?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that because you didn't want to take an hour to walk me through it, or what?
Well, just everybody so you could really understand what a landfill consists of versus what they call a dump.
What's the difference between a landfill and a dump?
Well, a landfill is just highly engineered operation, and a dump is where you pull the waste off somewhere or in a hole.
Okay. Do you think if the jury were to watch that video, it would help them in their understanding of your testimony?
Yeah, sure.
Do you see in front of you a disc labeled as State's Exhibit 68?
Yes.
I'd like to open that up and just show you the first frame or two and see if you can tell us what that is. And I'm going to do this on the screen.
Finding a suitable site for a landfill can be...
All right, I'm pausing it just 4 seconds in. Is this the video that you referred me to?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would introduce this disc as State's Exhibit 68 and ask to publish it to the jury now.
I don't have an objection, Judge.
Oh my word, that is so productive and efficient that this witness is like, okay, instead of me explaining this to you for an hour, here's a YouTube video. Oh, I love it. Okay, Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike from this YouTube video that they're going to be playing in the courtroom, okay? But like, wow, I think that's amazing, right? Okay, so let's learn together.
Finding a suitable site for a landfill can be complex. Landfill operators will work with regulators to be sure the new facility is located in the right place. Some places, like properties near wetlands, will be carefully evaluated for any environmental concerns. Impacts on nearby traffic will be analyzed. The site will also be evaluated to understand the land, groundwater, and surface water in the vicinity. Community feedback is important to consider, and meeting environmental and land use standards are a must. Once the site is approved by the regulator, the first step is to follow permit plans for sound construction. The second step is to secure the base of the landfill to provide a stable base for the liner. A two-phase composite liner is installed on the base and sides of the landfill. Leachate, a natural occurrence when waste is in contact with water, is collected through a system of drains, pumps, pipes, and hoses that move leachate away from the landfill. The leachate collection system will act as an effective biological filter by removing excess moisture from the bottom of the landfill. A groundwater monitoring system is installed to ensure the landfill does not impact groundwater at the site. The monitoring system acts as an alert in case additional measures may be needed to protect neighboring properties. Groundwater quality is protected at all times. Access to the site is carefully controlled for safety, and waste is screened by appropriateness as required. The landfill is ready to receive waste that has not been recycled. Equipment compacts the waste each day before daily cover, soil or tarps, is placed to avoid potential littering and odor. Gas wells are installed to capture methane generated by the waste. Once full, the landfill is covered with a cover system approved by the regulator. Groundwater continues to be monitored, and methane gas is collected and destroyed or turned into energy or fuel. When the landfill stops accepting waste, regulators will approve its closure and will monitor its safety for 30 years or as required by the regulators. Then, controls will be put in place to keep the property secure for the future. The property surrounding the closed landfill can be used for commercial or industrial use. But commonly, the property is used for green space, suitable for recreation or habitat conservation. We strongly support wildlife habitat conservation at our landfills through our partnership with the Wildlife Habitat Council.
Okay, well, that was a great presentation.
Now, with that little bit of background, let me ask you this. What happens when a solid waste removal truck, a garbage truck, shows up at the landfill with a load, and it's going to deposit that load at the landfill? Can you just walk us through it step by step? From the moment that truck turns in to, and we'll go specifically with Waste Management Superior Landfill in Chatham County. What happens?
So the truck enter the landfill through the main gate, proceed to the scales, which we call the gatehouse. The truck will get weighed in. Their weight will captured, and from there they proceed to the tipping floor, and that's the area they eject the waste, and it gets processed.
What happens? Let's go back to the scale. Truck comes in, goes to the scale to get weighed, right? And you're looking for the weight, the combined weight of the truck itself and the garbage on it, right?
That's correct.
Is there ever a circumstance where the truck just gets to bypass the scale initially?
No.
Okay. And then you said it goes to the tipping field, is that right?
Tipping floor.
Tipping floor. What is the tipping floor in some more detail?
That's where the truck goes to eject the load, and it gets processed.
And how does the truck eject the load? Does it depend on the type of truck or what?
Depend on the type of truck. Front end loader, they have a blade in the back where they push it out from the back, and same with a residential truck. A rolled off truck, the bed will raise and the doors open and eject the load.
And you said at that point, the trash gets processed, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Before we get into what that means, let me ask you, what happens with the truck from that point? Where does the truck go?
Once the truck ejects its load, it pulls back up out of the way and head back to the front gate.
And what happens at the front gate?
Certain trucks, their weight is stored in the system, so they don't have to weigh back out. They'll just exit the landfill.
What if the truck's weight is not stored in the system?
Then the truck will have to go back to the outbound scale and get weighed out.
And how do you calculate, well, are trucks or solid waste removal companies charged like by the load?
By the ton, it gets calculated by the computer.
And how does the computer calculate it?
Weigh the in weight and the empty weight.
Okay, so weight of the truck with the trash
Yeah.
minus weight of the empty truck gives you the total tonnage.
That's correct.
And you charge based off that.
That's correct.
Okay, so the truck's gone at this point, right? At the point that we're at?
That's correct.
Okay, let's go back to the trash at the tipping field and what it means for that trash to get processed. Can you tell us about that? What happens to the trash from there?
So we have a series of bulldozers that pushes the waste to the compactor, and the compactor has cleat wheels, and that spread the waste and pulverize the waste.
Is the place that the trash is pushed by the bulldozers, does it have any particular name that you refer to?
Landfill cell.
Okay. Tell me about landfill cells.
It's a general area that we put the waste in layers.
And do you use the same cell all the time or no?
Until it's up to the approved height.
And then what happens at that point?
Then it's closed out.
What is that? What does it mean to close out a cell?
Well, no more waste can be deposited in that area because it's at the approved elevation.
What do you do to close it out?
We apply dirt, 2 feet of dirt over that area and vegetate it.
What does it mean to vegetate it? You use
Plant
a lot
grass.
of technical terms. I'm going to keep hitting you with what does it mean?
Plant grass.
Okay, at that point you're done with that cell?
Done with that area. That's correct.
About how big is the typical landfill cell? And maybe it varies too.
It varies.
To answer that, but
It could be 10 acres, 12 acres, or 13 acres.
okay. Now, how long will you use a particular cell for?
It also varies on the tonnage that comes in. More tonnage, then that cell generally gets filled quicker. Less tonnage, it opens a little bit longer. So around 3 years, the most.
Okay. And is the landfill big enough that you've allowed for multiple cells and you can kind of
Yes.
move around it and
Yes,
use the place over the course of years?
that's correct.
Okay. You mentioned the bulldozer pushing the trash into the landfill cell and then it being compacted by, I think you said a compactor with cleated wheels.
Yes, so we use Caterpillar 836 compactors.
What is the importance of compaction in a landfill? Why bother? Why not just...
Density, fit more in a small space. We sell airspace, so we have to compact and get good density so we could fit more in that area.
Did you say something about there being regulations about how high you can
That's
have
correct.
trash in a cell? Okay. So is it fair to say that the tighter you can get that stuff compacted, the longer you can use that cell under the governing regulations?
That's correct.
These compactors that you described, do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 69?
Yes,
What is that?
that's a waste compactor.
Is it the type that you were describing?
That's correct.
Does it fairly and accurately depict that machine?
Yes,
And does it accurately capture the weight of that machine?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as State's Exhibit 69.
No objection, Your Honor.
69 is admitted.
All right, so this is the first page from the brochure for this machine, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and you said it's called a CAT 836.
Compactor.
All right. In this image, what is this CAT 836 doing?
Spreading and compacting the waste.
Is this, kind of a look at what that process looked like that you were describing?
Yes, sir.
All right. How much do these things weigh for this brochure?
Some, all depends on the wheel, 123,000 pounds or more.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you how many tons that is, because that would require you to do math on the spot, but fair to say they're heavy?
Yes, sir.
Is it fair to say that's kind of the point?
That's the point.
You mentioned the rollers, the studded, or I think you said cleated rollers, is that what you said?
Cleated wheels.
Do we see those in this image?
Yes, sir. Those spikes on the wheels.
Now, what are these wheels made out of?
Steel.
These are not rubber tires?
No, sir.
Okay. And what does that do to the trash?
It cuts up the trash, breaks it down.
And that's kind of what you're going for, right?
Right.
We heard something in that video about daily cover.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about daily cover? What does that mean?
So daily cover is soil that we have to apply to the waste after our shift is completed.
At the end of the day?
At the end of the day.
Why do you do this?
Because we're regulated to do that, because it helps with odor and wind-blown debris.
How much, describe the process of applying the daily cover. What does this look like?
So we have a series of ADT trucks that haul the dirt, all the cover soil to the area, and the dozers spread the soil 6 to 8 inches thick.
And this happens every day?
Every day.
And you have to do it under law, right?
Yes, sir, regulated by the state.
And when is this being done, I guess, in the active cell that you're using at that time?
That's correct.
Okay. And in the course of doing this daily cover and spreading this 6 to 8 inches of dirt over the cell, is it fair to say that all the trash in that cell is being compacted once again?
That's correct.
What happens with the daily cover the next morning when y'all reopen?
We remove that daily cover.
And does that also require these compactors with the blade on the front to?
The dozer will remove the daily cover.
Is that something different from the compactor?
That's correct.
Okay. Are those also pretty heavy?
Yes, between 50 or 60,000 pounds.
Okay. Now, in October of 2022, I think sometime around maybe the 7th or the 8th, did Detective Noble come out to the landfill and make contact with you?
Yes, sir.
And did he ask you whether you could tell him anything about Waste Pro Truck 3909 and where it would have deposited its garbage, its trash on the morning of October 5th, 2022?
Yes.
And were you able to provide him some records about Waste Pro Truck 3909 on that day?
Yes.
And were you able to tell him the general area that the garbage from that truck would have been deposited in the landfill on that day?
Yes.
Do you see in front of you a two-page document marked as State's Exhibit 67.
Sure. As you guys are all saying in the chat, it's so sad to think that they're discussing all of this, the landfill and the trash and this whole process, because Quinton, a 20-month-old boy, was thrown in the trash and his body was found in pieces, partial remains, in this landfill. That is just, you could just never imagine that someone would do that to their own child. Like, oh my goodness. And show no emotion in court about it, right? Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Do you recognize those two documents?
Yes.
Can you tell us what they are?
So one is the scale ticket that we issue the driver once he come in and weigh in. And the other location is where we place the waste.
May I approach for them? Right now, I'm just asking you about the 2 pages in 67. Okay. What are the 2 pages in State's Exhibit 67?
These are the scale tickets.
Okay. How many are there?
2.
And are those scale tickets for Waste Pro Truck 3909 from
That's
October
correct.
5th, 2022?
That's correct.
Okay. So how many times did that truck come to Waste Management Superior Landfill that day?
2 times.
Are those documents created in the ordinary course of business at Waste Management?
Yes.
And are they stored and maintained in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
And you were able to produce those for Detective Noble when he asked?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would introduce these as State's Exhibit 67.
No objection, Your Honor.
Welcome to all the new members. I see lots of people are joining. Thank you so much. If you check out the members only playlist, the very latest live stream that we had, I showed you all the cats, especially the new kitty, Pepper. I still have to make a emoji including hers, but you might want to check that out if you are brand new.
All right, can you see this on the screen here? There's one right next to you.
Yes.
Can you walk us through the contents of this document and what it shows, just kind of starting from the top?
So it shows the company logo and the site name and address, and also shows the customer and the date, the account, and the vehicle number, and it also shows the time that the truck entered the scales.
And what time would that be?
6:24.
All right, so that's when it comes in, right, and gets weighed?
That's when it comes in.
And what does that operator refer to? Is that the truck operator or the scale operator?
No, that's the scale operator.
All right, someone named R. Bradley, I suppose?
That's correct.
Okay. What else are we seeing on here?
And the gross weight of the truck, the tier weight, and the net and the tonnage that the truck has on it.
All right, so would the gross weight there at the top be the truck and the trash?
That's correct.
And the tier weight is the
Empty weight.
empty truck, and the net then is the total tonnage of the trash. Okay. This is from that truck's early morning 6:25 drop off, right?
That's correct.
Now I see that the in and out times on there say the exact same thing, 6:25:47. Why is that?
That's because the weight is stored in the system, so we were able to print a ticket.
So this is one of those trucks where you had the weight stored and didn't have to stop at the scale empty on the way out?
That's correct.
So it all just kind of happens in one go when it first comes in?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, what does the driver's signature there say, if you can read it?
It's hard to make out.
Moving down to the second page, we could skip all the stuff at the top. let me just ask you, this is also for 3909 up here?
That's correct.
Okay. And what was the time that this particular load came in on this truck and was weighed
10:12 a.m.
on October 5th, right?
That's correct.
Do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 75?
That's correct.
Have you looked through that document, sir?
Yes.
Can you tell us what it is, if you recognize it?
That's the overall landfill footprint.
Okay. Do these images fairly and accurately depict Waste Management Superior Landfill in Chatham County?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move this in as States Exhibit 75.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, in this first image, what is this major road running along the right side from bottom to top?
That looks like 95.
Okay. And then what is this road?
That's Little Neck Road.
All right, so Little Neck Road is the smaller road going over 95 there.
Yes, sir.
Can you, is this entire area here on the left side of the screen, is that Waste Management Superior Landfill?
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to slide 2. Do you mind stepping down and walking us through the different areas we're seeing here from right to left, from the entrance, moving over to...
Do you guys remember when Quinton was reported missing, and then later with the press conference, they told us that they're looking in this landfill, and then we'd actually watch some videos that people that work there had uploaded to YouTube, and we did map time with this. It's almost like reliving it. It's so sad, to see all of this again and be like, oh man, that's where they were searching. And we were all so worried because it took a long time. When it goes like, okay, 2 days, they haven't found anything, 3 days, 4 days, it became a month. A month later, they found partial remains. I mean, it was just, the chances were so low, and they were so dedicated, and they actually managed to find that. That evidence was so critical to this case. And then, they arrested Leilani, charged her with murder, and she's been in the Chatham County jail ever since, being held on no bond, and here she is now on trial, facing 19 charges. Karen, welcome. Okay, so let's see what they say.
To the left.
This is the entrance. This is the shop area where we take care of our heavy equipment. This area right here is the gatehouse, the scale house is what we call it. And once the truck gets weighed in, it goes up to the working face area. Here's is our waste to energy plant we have on site. And this area here is our tipping floor area.
Okay. Now, that tipping floor area, is that the tipping floor area that was being used on October 5th of 2022?
That's correct.
It is. Okay. When Detective Noble, when he came out there and asked you if you could identify where that truck would have tipped its load and where that load would have then been shoved to, you said you were able to do that, right?
Yes.
Did he ask you to do anything for him at that point?
He asked us to stop place.
Would you like to rephrase your question?
No, Your Honor. He's going to relay a question that Detective Noble asked him. A question cannot be a statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. I mean, a question just can't be hearsay.
Given that over.
Did Detective Noble ask you to do anything?
Stop placing waste in that area.
Okay. And was he referring to the tipping area or that particular landfill cell that trash was being used for, or what?
The landfill cell.
Okay. And did you do that?
That's correct.
Did that have any impact on y'all's operations?
Yes, it did.
What did y'all have to do at that point?
We had to hire a subcontractor to move our tipping for location, and that was a cost to the company.
Did you have to open up a new landfill cell at that point?
We had an area that still needed some waste, and we're able to relocate to that area. Yeah.
Okay. From that point forward, did you cease depositing trash in the area that you had identified to him?
That's correct.
Can you, on this third slide here, we've zoomed in a little bit. Can you just generally indicate to us where the tipping floor would have been on October 5th, 2022, and where the cell would have been that things are being pushed
So the
to?
tipping floor would have been in this general area.
And that's a dark area
Yeah.
towards the bottom middle.
And the area we were placing waste was on the outside slope.
Okay. Can you tell us on this image like the route that the truck would have taken? And I guess let me ask you this. Is the truck going on this very obvious road along the top, or is it going somewhere else?
It would come up through the top.
Okay, so it's coming up the road
Yep.
on the bottom right,
Yep.
tipping in this brownish area, and then this trash is getting shoved to the cell over here, right?
That's correct.
Now, I think you mentioned something about a slope or hill.
Well, it's on the outer slope of the landfill.
This being a two-dimensional image, we can't really see a slope.
No.
What we're looking at here, but can you describe to us what the slope is, what direction it goes?
Well, it's on the outer side, and we're designed to build 3-to-1 slope, so not a steep incline. So you could walk and put tractors on it to mow safely.
Okay. So is it fair to say then that there's, from the center of the image, there's sort of a slope down to this perimeter?
That's
road?
correct.
Okay.
That Mickey, thank you. You said, I hope that everyone involved in bringing justice in this case knows that they are seen and appreciated. From landfill workers to law enforcement, you are true heroes. Yes, thank you so much for that sticker.
Were you involved to one degree or another in providing personnel and equipment for the search once law enforcement began the search?
Yes.
Can you tell us about the personnel and equipment that you all provided?
We provided 2 heavy equipment operator and equipment, and also my operation manager and equipment.
And what were they out there doing?
They were removing the waste and loading it, and moving the waste down on the area that they spread it out and search.
And about how long did your people participate in this effort for doing that?
Maybe around 7 days or so.
Okay. Did you all have to do this, provide personnel and equipment?
No.
Why did you do it?
Just because of the significance of, what happened.
All told, do you have any idea how much money this costs Waste Management to have
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
I will allow it.
to have to shift operations and then divert personnel and equipment to this effort?
Once we shift operation, it costs us between $70,000 or $80,000 to move the operation.
Were you present at Waste Management Superior Landfill the day that the searchers found Quinton?
That's correct. I was in my office.
What do you remember about that day?
My operator called me and said,
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sir, we just don't want you to repeat anything that someone else told you, because that would be hearsay.
At some point, did you get a call that caused you to go out there?
yes.
And were you relieved to hear that the search had been successful?
Yes.
One moment, please. No further questions, Your Honor.
Even the cost, right? I'm glad the judge allowed that question, just so we also know. Like, it costs $70 to $80,000 just for them to, shift the trash that would normally be put in that area to another area while they were searching that area for Quinton for a month. That's so sad. And still, we just don't see Leilani breaking down, being sad about it or anything. Obviously, why would we expect that from her at this point? But my goodness, it's horrifying to hear all of this, right? And it affected so many people. Okay, let's see. Oh, here we go.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Johnson, how are you?
I'm doing great, sir.
My name is Martin Hilliard. Hope you're having a good day. I just got some follow-up questions for you. Your exact title at Waste Management is what again?
Senior District Manager.
So, what's the district you're a manager of?
Coastal.
And which goes from where to where?
South Carolina and Georgia.
Okay. And is there 3 landfills in those
Yes.
areas?
2 in South Carolina and 1 in Georgia.
So those are what you manage?
Yes,
Those 3,
sir.
correct, for the company? All right. And just out of curiosity, are there any other landfills in the Savannah area?
They're Republic Landfill.
Okay, and where's that located at?
I believe that's close by the airport.
Okay. And that's the only other competitor you have in the area?
That's correct.
And approximately, and we're talking about the Little Neck Road landfill that y'all have, correct?
Yes.
Approximately how many trucks come in and go out of there every day?
Some days could be 400 or 500 trucks per day.
Okay. And are there many, how many different commercial waste companies dump there?
A lot.
Okay. And when I say commercial waste companies, that's what I mean is people who are engaged in picking and removing waste. Can be for both businesses and private, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have both private businesses, I guess residential waste removal companies that dump there?
Yes.
Do you have both, I guess, commercial, which would be like businesses?
Yes.
Okay, so you have basically both, correct?
Yes.
All right. And is it fair to say that most of them have similar equipment?
Meaning?
A waste removal truck of some sort?
Some comes in a waste removal truck and some is your everyday pickup trucks with a dump trailer.
All right. So you do both, I guess, private?
Yes.
Private dumping as well?
Yes.
Okay. And I assume you charge for that as well? Correct?
That's correct.
So it's not just the big companies that come in and do it. Private
That's correct.
citizens come in and do it
Yes.
too. And anyone can come in and dump in that facility.
Yes, sir.
And it has both, I guess, residential garbage as well as commercial garbage.
That's correct.
And anytime I'm not stating the accurate, being inaccurate about your business, please correct me, okay? Now let's talk about, I guess it's the, what was it you called the area you're dumping in or dumping waste in?
It's a landfill cell.
A landfill cell. Okay. How many landfill cells do you have operating at one time in the dump?
Just one.
Okay. So with regard to that landfill cell that's operating, any and all trucks that come in there dump in that landfill cell, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What's the furthest away, if you know, what's the furthest away you have trucks coming in?
Just around the surrounding area.
Okay. So let's say as far away as surrounding counties, maybe?
That's correct.
Okay. And again, you're not like you're a private company engaged in the landfill business, so you don't turn people away just because they're from out of county, do you?
We just don't take out of state waste.
Right. So it's whatever waste you got's coming from Georgia, right?
Coming from Georgia, that's
Okay.
correct.
All right. So you're using one landfill cell area at a time, correct?
That's correct.
And I assume, from what I have heard you testify to, you use this landfill cell area, and you said it's 10 to 12 to 13 acres big.
That's correct.
All right. And everything that comes in gets dumped there.
That's correct.
And how long do you use that landfill cell for usually?
It all depends on the volume of the waste coming in, how much waste is coming in, then it'll fill up quicker. If the volume decreases, it'll stay, that general area will stay a little bit longer.
In general, how long does it take you to move from one landfill cell to the next?
2 to 3 years.
Okay, so in this particular case, the landfill cell you were using, how long have y'all been using that one?
We've been using that area, a little bit over 2 years.
Okay, so at that point in time, it was about a 2-year landfill cell, and you were having 400 to 500 trucks a day from the surrounding area dump in that landfill cell, correct?
That's correct.
Was there any other area you were dumping in the landfill at that point in time?
No, sir.
Okay. So, and the only other competitor you have in town is Republic near the airport, correct?
That's correct.
And if you don't know, you don't know. Does any private sanitation companies dump there?
Yes.
Okay. Which companies dump there?
So you have Waste Pro, Atlantic Waste, Pro Disposal. So we got quite a bit.
Okay. And when I say, do they dump residential waste as well as commercial waste?
That's correct.
Okay. So, and what's the difference between residential waste versus commercial waste?
Well, one's household garbage, and the other one is construction demolition debris.
Okay. So some of these companies are paid or engaged or contracted to go collect people's household waste, the garbage cans you see along the road, right?
Correct.
Okay. And and you said you know of at least 3 companies that do that and that dump in there, correct?
Yeah, and a lot more.
Okay. We'll just stick with what you know. Let's not speculate, okay? So you know of at least 3 companies. There probably are more, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so you said it was October 8th was when all waste in this particular landfill cell was stopped, correct?
October 7th.
October 7th?
That's correct.
So all of the waste that came in to your facility for the 5th, 6th, and 7th until it was stopped from Savannah and surrounding areas was dumped in this landfill cell, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. That's all the questions I have.
Can you redirect?
When you were indicating to Detective Noble the area that truck 3909 would have deposited its load, or I guess where that load would have ultimately ended up after being moved from the tipping field. An area
Tipping floor.
Tipping floor. On October 5th. Were you indicating towards just like the entirety of the 10 to 12 acre
No.
landfill cell, or
No.
to a more precise area within it?
Yeah, it's just a more precise area.
About how big was that area that you were pointing out to him, if you could have some?
Normally, we work in a 50 by 50 area.
And was Quinton ultimately found in that area?
That's correct.
Just to follow up, you're talking about the tipping floor. So again, the tipping floor, the big piece of equipment that we saw. When you're using a landfill cell and you have the tipping floor, I assume that compactor runs back and forth over the trash, compacting it, correct?
That's correct.
And it picks it up and moves it, correct?
Well, the dozers, well, everybody knows that bulldozers will take the waste to the compactor, and then the compactor spreads the waste and compact it.
Okay. So when you say the bulldozer, everyone knows this. Let's just assume I don't know anything about landfills. I don't know anything about how it works. Okay. So, but what we're saying is all the waste that gets dumped is compacted, dozed, moved, pushed, compacted. How many times does this happen?
Once the waste is pushed in that general area, it don't get moved, it's just get compacted.
Okay. And so when the waste gets dumped, it gets dozed, moved, pushed, compacted, and then that's, I guess you start doing what we call the daily
cover.
cover, okay? And every day you have to cover it, and every day you have to uncover it.
That's correct.
And once you uncover it, do you dump more and do that again?
That's correct.
All right, so you compact it, dose it, move it, cover it, uncover it. The next day, dump more, compact it, dose it, move it, cover it. Next day, uncover it, do the same thing again, and then stop, correct?
That's correct. Once we reach our general height.
Thank you.
Mr. Dean?
No question.
Thank you. And may this witness be released.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Johnson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are excused.
Advisor.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, it's been about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. I think it's a good time for a short break. We're going to break for 15 minutes. Please don't discuss the case. Don't do any research, and we will see you back in 15. Thank you.
Ooh. Court TV makes it like, you know, we don't see the ceiling and all that. Just, whoosh. Okay, now there's a break. So we're going to be teleporting through this break. I am getting lots of spoilers in my inbox. Please don't share spoilers in the chat. I want to hear what the judge rules and why and all of that. We'll get to that later. Okay, we shall see. We shall see what happens. Okay, so let's go forward now. Okay. Wow, that's a long break. 15 minutes, are you sure? Oh, my word, okay. And then, I still don't see anyone. Okay, wait. What do they say here? Live court is on a short break. That's not a short break. This is a very long break. Whoa. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Sound is not on yet. Yeah, that was more than 15 minutes. Also why we like to start late to try our best to skip over these breaks. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of breaks today. Maybe things we might not be able to see. We shall see. But let's hear it. Oh, word. She's got such nice earrings, right? Look at this one today. Blue, maybe for Quinton. Do you think everyone asks this judge every day as well what kind of lipstick she wears? I get that question literally every day. It's it's the Maybelline liquid lipstick, Royal 55. Yes, okay. So let's see what the judge decides now.
Okay, so we're back on the record in SBCR 22-03364J6. Counsel are both present at their respective tables. Ms. Simon is present with her counsel. Ms. Parker, I've had an opportunity to review the motion for immunity, and I am signing the order granting use and derivative immunity. I'm going to hand it down to the clerk. Both documents down to the clerk.
Immunity and derivative immunity, which would likely be for the dealers that are supposed to testify today.
Clerk, so they may be filed in. And of course, that is regarding the witness, Craig Weston.
Can I get a copy of that for Mr. Bryan once it's signed and filed?
Yes. All right. So before we bring the jury out, let's talk about how we're going to proceed at this point. The state has made a motion to not broadcast or have recorded certain testimony. Mr. Dean, if you'll state the state's position on that.
So we're objecting to any recording, audio or video, and broadcasting of the testimony of Craig Weston and of Tim Weston, should he testify. We're objecting under OCGA 15.
Stop it.
1.10.1, which sets forth the multifactorial test for granting or denying media requests. In particular, we are relying on the first two factors, the nature of the particular proceeding at issue, that proceeding being just his or their testimony. And
No, we don't like it. Sorry. So Mr. Prosecutor, we'd we'd like to have a word with you, sir. Okay, we've been looking forward to this all day. We want to hear those salacious texts, okay? And we want to see Leilani hide under the table, all right? And we definitely want to hear the context of what the hell she was up to that night. You gave us a preview, sir. You opened the door. I wish I could be in that courtroom to argue this. I don't know. I'll just be like, excuse me, objection on behalf of the Grizzlies. All right, worldwide.
And the second factor, the consent or objection of the parties or witnesses. He has objected to us, and so we're relaying that to the court. Also, the sixth factor, the impact upon due process and the truth-finding function of the judicial proceeding. We think that, given his concerns about recording and broadcasting, we think that the truth-seeking function of this criminal trial will be furthered by not doing that in the case of him and Tim Weston, should he testify.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hilliard.
Your Honor, since we're just dealing with flat statements without any evidence to support them, my objection is the exact opposite of that.
All right, I'm on his side now. Go, defense attorney. You fight for that Weston to be on the stand, camera and all.
With the only two exceptions in the trial so far, one having to do with a minor child, which I think everyone agreed on, and the other one having to do with an agent who may or may not have testified that we didn't want to have their identity revealed for reasons, okay, that are enumerated, and again, not a great objection to. We don't have that here, okay? Mr. Weston is a civilian. He's not a minor. He's not under indictment. He's been granted use immunity. I'm sorry if the things that he's testifying about may be personally embarrassing to him, but I didn't call him as a witness, and the rules we've been playing under have been the same for everyone. I don't see, Mr. Dean baldly states, well, due process can be served by this. Well, I can baldly state that due process would not be served by it, and we're right back at the beginning of the analysis. So everyone in here has objected to the media coverage thus far, every opportunity we've been given. So I'm not saying this because I'm any great fan of having cameras in the courtroom, because I'm not. Okay? I am saying this, though, that the rules that we've been playing by, every witness has had to come in here and testify so far, with only those two exceptions, have had to testify in front of the cameras. So I think Mr. Weston should have to as well. I'm sorry if he finds it embarrassing or he doesn't like it, but other than that, he has use immunity. So any potential legal ramifications are out the window at this point.
Obviously, the state would also be managing risk. Otherwise, the dealer wouldn't be so willing to offer information if he knew it's going to be broadcast worldwide. And we definitely will be smirking about it. We'll be like, what did he just say? He texted what? So the point is, he would be pleading the fifth on everything, right? I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth. It'll be useless. So I think the state's doing it in order to get the most out of that testimony. You know, I understand. I just wish we had someone in the courtroom. I don't see Grizzlies in that courtroom. Listen, could somebody, I think it's already happening now. Could somebody just go? That would be great if we had someone there just to tell us what the hell did they say. But if not, maybe we could always FOIA request afterwards, after the trial's done, and maybe one day, if we really want to, we can read over that, depending what it is.
So I think that that use immunity promotes due process and fairness more than anything. Other than that, we're just talking about his own personal embarrassment, and that's not one of the factors, Judge. So we object.
Mr. Dean, looking at considerations 1, 2, and 6, is there anything particularly about the nature of the particular proceeding at issue? What can you tell the court more about that in your objection?
This witness is likely going to be asked to touch on private sexual matters. It's one thing he is a private citizen. He is likely going to be asked to touch on private sexual matters. He's testifying under compulsion and under a grant of immunity, and might also be asked about, perhaps about criminal activity for which he will never be tried, and will therefore never be vetted in a court. And this is the same reason that the federal government doesn't name unindicted co-conspirators in indictments, because unindicted co-conspirators are never going to get a trial and an opportunity to flesh out the truth or falsity of the allegations against him. There's sort of a parallel thing going on here with him. And as to, so I think that's enough factually to state that, and that goes to the nature of the proceedings. As to the objection issue, I mean, I'm just proffering and stating in my place as an officer of the court that he objects, and he objects strongly. He can.
And you've cleared up a question I had in my mind. So.
May I say one more thing? I'm sorry.
You sure you
want If not, that's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'll sit down.
What do you want to say, Mr. Dean?
I was just going to say that this idea that the court's decisions about recording or broadcasting the trial at large and the testimony of other witnesses, and that there ought to be some, there's like a principle of consistency that ought to control here, just seems to me to be totally at odds with the multifactorial, fact-specific, witness-specific tests set forth in the code.
Are you saying that's what the court has been doing?
No. That's what I took Mr. Hilliard to be urging the court to do, is to apply a uniform rule for all witnesses and all the subject matter in the trial. And I just don't think that's what the code section calls for.
Mr. Dean,
yes.
I know you're about to go on, and you don't need to.
Okay.
You will, and I don't need you to.
I do have something to say about that. You asked about the nature of the proceeding, so this is kind of a different thing, and he gave an answer to it. I'm going to see if I can summarize Mr. Dean's argument. We've hauled in a witness by compulsory process. We are offering this witness. We have given this witness immunity, and we've subpoenaed them into this murder trial. And now, because he feels some kind of way about being embarrassed, that we're going to change the rules for this witness, which is all what they...
Objection, speculation. I mean, maybe it's not about being embarrassed. Maybe he feels like his life will be in danger or something based on the nature of the work he either used to do or still does. I don't know. Maybe he won't say a damn word. He'll just say pleading the fifth, everything. You know what I mean? So it might not, maybe he isn't embarrassed. Maybe he wants to stay safe.
Done. So I don't understand how you can create the problem, cement the problem, alleviate the problem with this particular witness, and then think that, I'm the one who's objecting to it, and I'm the bad guy, because I think this guy should play by the same rules that every other person they've done the exact same thing to has had to play by the entire trial. I don't see there's anything unique about the nature of this particular proceeding. I don't see there's anything about this particular witness that makes it relevant or necessary to turn the cameras off. And I don't say that because I want them on. I don't. I say that because I don't see a reason to carve out an exception for Mr. Weston. He's not that special. And that's the reason why I'm objecting to it.
Oh my word. He's not that special, okay? Well, I don't know if that's a good reason. We want him to be on camera and audio because he's not that special. Okay.
Rules are here to guide us, and 110 is here to guide us with regards to videotaping and televising and recording. I do think there is a balancing test. There are several conditions that are listed, things that the court should consider and hear from all parties. All situations are a little bit different. And in taking this case in particular, and the state's objection, I'm going to grant I'm not going to require Mr. Weston to testify with the cameras on. I think that Mr. Dean gave an argument for, one, the nature and particular proceeding at issue that helps satisfy the court. He also stated condition 2, but condition 6 I find is very persuasive. The impact upon due process and the truth-finding function of the judicial proceeding. Given what the particular scenario is with this witness and some of the factors that play in, I am going to require that cameras not roll and that it not be recorded. Of course, the fact finders who are here will still be able to hear all of the evidence. They will be able to see him. And anyone who's in the courtroom will be able to hear from him. This is still an open courtroom, although...
Pause the court, everyone. I'm flying over. I'm going from Switzerland to Georgia. Chatham County, here I go. I need to hear this.
In my discretion, I am not going to allow this witness testimony to be broadcast. Okay? And so with that, is there anything else that we need to take up before we bring in the jury?
No, Your Honor.
And you need Mr. Hilliard, you wanted a copy of the order?
I have it right here, Judge. I did want it to be certified, though, just so I could use it on Mr. Weston when the time comes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Bryant.
Yes, Court TV, tell us in the chat, right?
Yes, Grace.
Your Honor, is Mr. Weston the next witness so that we can be made aware of when he's going to testify?
What I anticipate is Detective Lemmons. Detective Lemmons is going to be called next, and then after Detective, then Mr. Weston is going to be called. And I would ask that you cut the camera footage and recording at that time.
And just to clarify, that would be audio as well as video.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, can we describe his testimony as reporters in
Yeah.
talking about what's happened in the day or no?
This is an open courtroom. We're just not recording and broadcasting.
Why, if the reporters can, if you guys find articles about what they said, then I think they would have been on, right? Let's see. Unless they're at lunch now, we'll see. But the point is, if you find articles where they've described it, please send it to me. My email is grizzlytruecrime@gmail.com. I'll also be looking.
That portion.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, I don't mean to, so we're allowed to quote him if we take direct quotes, that's fine?
Yes. All right. Please bring in the jury.
Oh, you're smiling, Leilani. Don't worry. We're waiting for the cuffs to come out. Cuff her. There you go. She looks very pleased with that.
Jurors entering.
I love the way that lady says it. Jurors entering. So the judge ruled no video, no audio for us. But first there's other witnesses. Detective Lemmons will take the stand again.
Thank you. All right, please have a seat, ladies and gentlemen. I think I said 15, but I think it grew into an hour. So I appreciate your patience. Honestly, we are not dancing and having a party while you guys are in the back. The work continues. I'm going to turn now to the state. You may call your next witness.
Marion Lemmons.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
One more time for good measure.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you testified, feels like a long time ago now, about the defendant's October 5th interviews at Chatham County Police Headquarters, right?
Yes.
And over the course of that day, she disclosed 2 trips away from the residence on the night of October 4th, morning of October 5th.
Yes.
And on that day, what was the story as to the first trip, the earlier of the 2?
She described going to the Flacco's Tacos to meet up with a gentleman she knew as Red.
To do what?
To pay back a drug front.
Over time, I guess by October 12th, in the interview with Special Agent Snyder and Special Agent Solomon that we watched more recently in time, did that story change?
Yes, it did.
How did it change?
It moved from meeting Red for a drug front at the Flacco's Tacos into meeting Red/Craig on Arkwright to buy cocaine and Percocets.
What do you mean by Red/Craig?
She told the interviewers that Red is Craig in that interview.
Okay, same person.
Yes.
Okay. As early as October 5th, you had thumbed through her phone, right?
Yes.
And on that day, did you at some point, did you see messages in her phone between her and a contact saved as Craig?
Correct.
When do you remember first seeing those messages?
I believe I mentioned them on October 5th to her.
Okay. And did you ask her a question about Craig that day?
I did.
What was the question that you asked her?
I think I asked her specifically who is Craig.
Did you ask her whether there was anything going? What did she say to that, if you remember?
I believe she referred to him as an older white male that was not Red.
And it was on the 12th that she said actually Craig and Red are the same person.
Yes.
And it's an African American gentleman, right?
Yes.
Okay. On the 5th, you had seen messages between her and a contact saved as Craig, right? Day
Yes.
1. And did you ask her whether there was anything sexual going on between the 2 of them?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say about that?
I believe in that specific interview, I don't fully remember what she said.
Okay. At some point in the investigation, did she deny that, though?
Yes, she did.
Okay. You later received a copy of her cell phone extraction, correct?
Yes.
And did you select and export from that cell phone extraction all of her communications with the contact saved as Craig?
Yes.
Do you see in front of you State's Exhibit 91?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us what that is?
So this is an extraction report of all communications and anything that has to do with the user she has saved as Craig.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as State's Exhibit 91.
No objection.
You know what? So Mama T says, to the dealer, we don't care what you sell. We just want the juicy messages and what you know what happened to Quinton. You know, the prosecutor actually could have just saved my damn YouTube channel. Because YouTube has some, as you know, very PG-13 policies. And I think that those text messages, just by that tiny bit we've already heard, would have been way too bad. They would have probably shut the stream down. So you know what? I'm kind of grateful. Like, okay, at least we don't have to, it will just not be shown. I was looking forward to hearing it, especially because I want to see Leilani's reaction to it, but that's not what we're here for. We're not here for the tea. We're here for justice for Quinton. And I do wonder, though, and I hope reporters will write the articles on it and everything. I don't know if they will today. We'll have to see. I'll be monitoring X. I'll be monitoring the articles as well. If I find anything, I will share it with us, right? But yeah, I think it would have been pretty graphic just based on the little bit we've heard. So anyway, let's listen to Detective Lemmons. We've seen her on the stand a few times already. That would all be time-stamped, and she's often, she was there interviewing Leilani when she was screeching. Remember that?
Okay, it's admitted.
Now, does this exhibit show when she first saved Craig as a contact?
Yes, it does.
And what was that date?
On September 16th in 2022.
Okay, so that would have been how long before Quinton's disappearance? Like a little less than 3 weeks, maybe?
Correct.
Okay. In moving forward from that, is there a series of text message exchanges between the two of them leading up to October 4th?
Yes, text messages and phone calls.
Okay. And does this document include all of them?
Yes, it does.
Before we get into, reading individual ones and describing when they were sent and received and so forth, let me just ask you, can you kind of summarize what these communications show as far as what was going on with the two of them, between the two of them during, say, late September, early October?
So pretty much from when Leilani saved Craig into her phone, it appears that they began a sexual relationship and were scheduling meetups to meet and have sexual intercourse.
And where was it that they appeared to be meeting?
At his place of residence.
And where is that?
Off of Arkwright.
Okay. On Arkwright Road?
Yes.
Off of Highway 204?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you testified earlier that you identified Craig as Craig Weston of Arkwright Road?
Yes.
Okay. Let me draw your attention to a few of these and have you talk us through them, okay?
Okay.
Can you go to line 7?
Yes.
So this thing is like, we've had some of these bubble style exports. This is a table style, right?
Correct, yes.
We might actually hear some of them from Detective Lemmons. It sounds like they're going down that road.
Okay. It's just a different way of pushing text messages out of the Cellbrite extraction?
Yes.
Okay. Line 7. Can you walk us through this message, including like the date and time and who sent it to whom and what it says?
Okay. So again, these are only from Craig and Leilani. So this one's from Craig saying WRY, which is commonly known as Where Are You, on September 25th at 2:24 a.m.
All right, so middle of the night.
Yeah.
All right. Line 8, can you just kind of walk through these from that one through line 16?
Okay. So the previous message was at 2:24 a.m. The next one is from Leilani at 2:25 that says, I'm home on Buckhalter. At 2:25 from Craig, hello. 2:26 a.m. from Leilani, I can come back out there. At 2:38 a.m. from Leilani, on the way. And then at 2:46 a.m. Leilani sends a video message. This is a thumbnail of the video that she sent, and it appears to be of a trailer from inside of a vehicle.
Now, you've been to Arkwright Road?
I have.
And you've seen the structures out there?
Yes.
Does this appear to show that she was present there at that time?
I believe it's the back part of Arkwright.
Okay. And that was at 246?
Correct.
So it looks like she's there at that point?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to line 13.
Okay, I see some people are wondering. Okay, sometimes I assume we know because we've all been watching this so closely, but Jesse Henley is reminding everyone, Craig, I think he pronounced his name Craig, but okay, Craig is probably Red. Yes, indeed, the dealer that she met the night that she left the house to go to the 240. Yes, so she popped out on October 4th of 2022 to go and meet this guy that's going to be testifying that we will not see or hear. But there were text messages between them. She went out to meet him. She apparently had sex with him. She got some substances. She went back home. And something happened to Quinton somewhere there when she went back home, based on all the other testimonies we've heard, right? So it's very important to the timeline. So she gets home at like 11:20 p.m. on October 4th. And by 1 o'clock in the morning, she's out by the dumpster. Yeah, something's happening between 11:30 and 12:30, basically, right? 11:30 and 12:45, something like that. So I think that would be important to the timeline, which is why they're reading through some of the messages of Leilani being like, okay, I'm going to be there. But they've gone back to September 25th for now. And then I think eventually, hopefully, we'll hear some of the messages from October 4th.
So at 2:48 a.m., Craig says, okay, 1 minute. And then it skips to 5:55 p.m., so several hours later.
That would be like 13 hours later or something
Yes.
like that? Okay.
Craig asked, you okay today? You man here.
And how did she respond to that?
At 6:54 p.m., she says, yeah, I'm okay. He's on his BS today, and I don't feel like arguing. And then in response, at 6:58 p.m., Craig says, okay, well, was thinking about you.
All right, so is that set of messages that we described, does that appear to be the first visit by the defendant to Craig that we see reflected in this set of messages at least?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, I'd like to go forward to line 62 on page 5.
Okay.
And if you could just do the same thing for 62 through 76. Go nice and slow with the time.
Nice and slow with the times and dates. Yeah, we want to follow. As Nat said, I think she did something to Quinton before she went out to meet this guy. I don't think so, based on maybe she did, but remember, Paul, her brother, came home at 10:50 p.m. while she was out, and he said he saw Quinton, and Quinton was saying, Danny, Danny, calling Danny the whole time, right? Right. So Kay, the only coach, said the only thing he wants to watch is the jury's decision. So what he asks, I relay. Okay, I've got to see some previous messages there. Thanks everyone for being here.
Okay. So this is on September 26th at 11:59 p.m. from Leilani. On the way now, be there in about 12 to 14 minutes. At 12:04 a.m., Craig initiates a phone call and they speak for 53 seconds. At 12:05 a.m., Craig says, okay. At 12:06 a.m., Craig says, okay, I'm in back to my camper. Stay close to your left. My dog gonna try eat your car, but he won.
And the next one?
At 12:16 a.m., Craig says hello. At 12:16 a.m., Leilani says, okay, I'm passing Quaco now. At 12:17 a.m., Leilani initiates a phone call for 19 seconds with Craig. And then at 12:21 a.m., Craig says, door open. Then skipping to 1:22 a.m., the previous was at 12:21, Leilani says, I'm home, I loved those hugs.
I'm home, I love those hugs.
Yep.
All right, so based on when she said she was passing Quaco Road on the way there, and when she says, "I'm home, I love those hugs," roughly how long does it appear that she spent at Craig's place that night?
Roughly 45 minutes.
Okay. Moving on to line 41. When
Can you imagine how infuriating this must have been and heartbreaking for Danny to find out afterwards? You know, like in hindsight, wait, what? She was meeting up with this dealer to have sex with him. It sounds like throughout their relationship, just about, right? At least towards the end of 2022. And I think Danny and Leilani were only together for about 2 years or so. And I mean, he is the father of her third child. The young girl who was about 4 months old at the time, right? Initially, it was reported that she was 9 months old, but thankfully, Grizzlies are on it. You guys have been emailing and being like, wait a minute, if you look at the Facebook post and everything, I think she was 4 months old at the time when Quinton was killed. So Quinton was 20 months old, and there was a little boy in the house as well that was 4 years old, Quinton's brother. All of them from different dads, right? So we've gone over who the dads are of all the 3 kids. And so imagine Danny, wow, finding that out. Somebody who knows Danny has emailed me just to correct something, and that they were never engaged. And they even said that it's a little bit strange to here and there catch a glimpse of, you guys have also pointed out that Leilani has some sort of thumb ring on or some kind of ring on in the courtroom. And they're thinking it could be some sort of like a promise ring or something, you know? Or that it could be like one of Danny's rings. But Leilani is the one who's running with the narrative of we were engaged and fiance and all that. So that was interesting. Thank you to everyone who emails me. I keep all my sources anonymous. You can email me, grizzlytruecrime@gmail.com. I really appreciate the insight and just hearing from you. So thank you so much. Anyway, so I don't know if it would be because obviously she's in jail. So who is providing a ring to her? I don't know. And I don't know where her mother is. Is her mother going to take the stand or not? You know, will she be like the final witness, or is she not taking the stand at all? Anyway, let's listen carefully now to the next date that they go to. They're working through all these text messages between Leilani and the dealer who's cheating on Danny. Oh, my word.
When is this message sent in relation to the last one we just read?
Yep, so the last one was at 1:22, where she's saying, "I'm home, I loved those hugs." The following message is from Craig at 1:26 a.m., and it says, "Okay, not more than I did. I was about to grab that kitty one time."
And what does she say to that?
In response, at 1:26, she said, "LMFAO, you most definitely could have!" Exclamation point. And then at
Do you think people generally know what LMFAO means?
It's laugh my fucking ass off, in case you didn't.
No. All right. 73, what's that? What does that one say?
73 is at 1:29 a.m. from Craig. "Shit, I sure wanted to, like I see how it looked, FR."
Try that one again, sorry. Read it slowly.
Yeah.
And before you do that, what date are we on?
9:27.
Early morning hours of September 27th. Okay, go ahead with 73.
Yep. 73 at 1:29 a.m. "Shit, I sure wanted to, like to see how it looked, FR."
What does FR mean?
For real.
Okay. How does the defendant respond to that in line 74?
So 74 at 1:36 a.m. is a response from Leilani sending a video message to Craig of herself masturbating.
75?
Oh, no.
75.
We do not want to see any of that. Look at her face. Yeah, that's embarrassing. She's just looking at her attorney. She's like looking to the side straight. I wish we could see his face, because he's probably like, don't make eye contact.
5 is at 1:38, so after the video message, Craig says, "Damn, you just made me hard as fuck, thank you."
And 76?
76 is at 1:39 a.m. from Leilani, "Well, shit, I'm glad I did."
Moving on to 117. And this will be the last set that I'll ask you to read, okay? If you could take us through 117 through 131. Stop at 131, okay?
Okay. So it's on October 1st at 12:24 a.m. is the first message from Leilani. Dealing with Danny flipping his shit. As soon as I can leave here, I'll let you know. Craig responds at 12:34 a.m. K. And then at 1:14 a.m. from Craig, if you can't come out, it's okay. At 1:15 a.m. from Leilani, I'm about to head that way, just probably can only stay for a couple hours though, is that okay? Then at 1:22 a.m., Leilani says, heading to the car now. At 1:22 a.m., Leilani says, be there in about 20. At 1:25 a.m., Craig says, well, you want to park at rideshare.
What is rideshare?
It's pretty much just like an empty parking lot about a quarter mile from Arkwright. It's commonly known in that area as the rideshare.
Okay, go ahead.
At 1:26 a.m., Leilani says, yeah, I will. At 1:56 a.m., Leilani says, just pulled into the rideshare. At 2 a.m., they have a 2-second conversation over the phone. At 2 a.m., Craig says 2 min, which is 2 minutes. And then at 2:01, Leilani says okay.
All right, so per those messages, it looks like by shortly after 2 a.m. they would have been together then?
Yes.
Okay. And the next message, 129.
Clarify the date for us, lady. Detective Lemmons. Because they said September 27th. So which date are they on now? And September 27th of 2022, just for context, Quinton was reported missing on October 5th of 2022. So it's just like a week before that, right? Sure, we are getting some tea today over here. Oh my word. You see, maybe we don't want to hear the dealer on, we don't want to hear it on the stand. Oh my word.
So that one is at 3:23 a.m. The previous was at 2:01. Craig's
almost like an hour and a half has passed or so.
Yes,
Okay.
more than an hour. That was good as fuck. I'll take that anytime. FRI, no, I made you come for a long time.
That was from Craig to the defendant.
Yes.
Stop it. No, make it stop. Okay, we take it back. Judge Stokes, help us. Look at her face. Well, this is what we want to see, though, is her face. Leilani. That's right. October 1st. Thank you. Mrs. Tobin. So she said October 1st. So they went September 22nd, 25th, 27th, and now apparently October 1st. That was October 1st. Oh my goodness. Sure. This one. Ooh, okay, I'm just pausing because it's a little bit awkward. Okay. Let's keep going. Sure.
Yes.
All right, the next message.
That one's at 3:56 a.m. from Leilani. I would be down to do that again anytime.
131.
At 3:56 a.m., Leilani says, and yes, you did for a good-ass min. And then the following message is at 11:59 p.m.
So how much time has passed at this point?
Well over 12 hours.
Okay, so this is like the next night.
Yes.
Okay.
What is the date now?
It is 10:01. So at 11:59, Craig says, you okay? On 10:02 at 9:02 a.m., Leilani says, yes, I'm okay.
October 2nd.
She then responds, about to drive over there actually. At 9:46 a.m., Craig responds, damn, you was tired, or I got rid of a lot of your stress. At 9:46, Craig says, LOL. At 9:47, Leilani says, a lot of stress was released. I need that sleep. At 9:54 a.m., Craig says, that's good shit. I was ready for round 2 last night, but it's okay. You needed that rest. You look well rested.
And then 140.
And then 140 is at 9:57 a.m. from Leilani. I'm still wiping the crust from my eyes.
Oh, no. Yeah, let's see her.
So
So sexy. I'm still wiping the crust from my eyes. No, Leilani. No, don't text that. At least she said my eyes. Okay. Stefan says October 2nd now. Thank you. Yes, for reminding everyone. They said they go quite through the dates quite quickly. When they say 10-1, October 1st. 10-2, okay, October 2nd. Wow. Okay, here we go.
these seem to show that over the week leading up to Quinton's disappearance that the defendant was getting male attention from Craig like 3-4 times, something like that.
It would appear so, yes.
One moment, please, Your Honor. No further questions.
Mr. Hilliard?
I do have a few by State's Exhibit 91, Judge.
Okay, cross-examination.
Detective Lemmons, let's talk about the text messages you didn't mention.
Okay.
I'll start on page 1. So the contact for Craig was added on September 16th, correct?
Yes.
That's the first time that this appears anywhere in here to the best of your knowledge or in mine, correct?
Yes.
Right. Did you see anything to this number prior to that?
No.
Okay. So, on the first page, instant message 6, if you would, did Mr. Dean ask you to read that one?
No, he didn't.
Okay. What does that one say? And who's it from and who's it to?
On 9:25 at 2:23 a.m., Leilani says, I needed a 50, but no one was there.
What is a 50 commonly referred to as? Is that a drug slang?
I believe it's just a number.
I needed a 50, but no one was there?
I don't know what she was intending there. I mean, I can assume it's drug lingo, but what exactly it is, I don't know.
Okay, well, you seem to know what WRY meant, correct?
Yes.
And you're currently stationed at C&T, correct?
I am.
Okay, so using your experience and your knowledge as an agent over at the Counter Narcotics team, when someone says they need a 50, what are they commonly referring to?
Objection, asked and answered.
I'm going to allow Mr. Hilliard his line of questioning. Overruled.
Yep. So my understanding is almost everyone has their own drug knowledge. Usually when I don't know something, I'll ask one of the other agents there. So right now I don't know what she's referring to.
All right. So let's move on then. Look at let me go back and just start from the beginning with this.
You know, people wonder what's the relevance of that, because I mean, it might just seem like, ooh, it's just like, I don't know, juicy gossip or text messages, but it would also be to show that she wasn't exactly prioritizing her children, you know, or her boyfriend or anything. She was like very deceptive as well, right? Okay.
On page 3, line 26, who is that from and who is that to? And what does it say?
It is from Craig to Leilani, and it says, I'm going to be your first black guy, not that it matters.
And that was on September 26th?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point in time, that seems to imply at least that they had not done anything, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, And let's look at number 42, September 26th. Who's that from and who's that to and what time is that?
You said 42?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That one's from Leilani. Y'all got perks or anything like that?
What do you think was meant by perks?
Percocet.
And number 43, what was the reply?
From Craig, no, I'll check around.
Okay. And number 52 at the bottom right there. Who's that from and who's that to?
That one is from Leilani to Craig.
And what's that asking for?
You got a half of tree.
And what is that referring to?
I believe that's marijuana.
Okay. And
Yes, in member streams, the members always ask me, what's your pet peeve, G? The clicking of the pen, right? I would say the defense attorney should click in that pen, in that microphone. And also when there's that empty space that is just like, that sound, just, it's not necessary. Okay, those are my pet peeves. Let's carry on.
And the instant message that y'all are referring to was, I believe Mr. Dean asked you about. Where it looks like, I guess they met at the ride share. What day was that again?
So I wonder what the defense strategy is right now. You know, is it to question the credibility of the dealer or to say she wasn't going there for that? She was actually just trying to get substances. I mean, none of it will make his client look great, right? I wonder where he's going with this.
I think it was October 1st, if I'm not mistaken. And does that seem to be when there was some sort of activity between the two of them?
Yes.
And on I think it's the last page, but I'm not mistaken. All right, here we go. It's like number 143 at the top of the last page. Who is that from and who is that to?
That is from Leilani to Craig.
And what's that saying on October 2nd?
About to head over there and grab his ass a 40 so he'll shut up.
And that's to Craig, correct?
Yes.
All right. And on October 3rd at 3:30, who is that from and who is that to?
Which line?
Number 147.
That one is from Leilani to Craig.
And what does that one say?
Just sent 30, Danny coming in for it.
That's all the questions I have with regard to this exhibit, Judge. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hilliard. So was the strategy to to basically say it wasn't Leilani that's shady or even cheating? It's Danny that sent her there. He did it. He sent her there like, oh my goodness.
Can you redirect?
So she's not just sleeping with him, he's also involved in supplying her drugs?
Correct.
Isn't that exactly what we've been saying?
Yes.
We've talked about a number of meetups that you can clearly see in these text messages and how long they seem to have lasted, right?
Yes.
On the night of October 4th, the night that we're concerned with here, was there any text message set up?
No.
Was there any text message communications with them at all?
No.
Between them at all, I should say?
No.
And how long did the GPS data establish that she was there for that night?
10 minutes.
And how does that relate in length to the previous visits that we've talked about?
I think the shortest one is 45 for their meetups.
So much, much shorter.
Yes.
No further questions? No further questions.
Thank you. Dr. Lemmons, you may take your seat once again. The state may call its next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Craig Weston.
Okay, and at this point, this is where video stops.
Aw, at this point, this is where video stops. They're calling Craig Weston to the stand. Damn it. Okay, so we're going to have to teleport through this now, okay? Because the judge ruled, wow, that's bright. Ceiling is bright. The judge ruled that they will not be able to broadcast this. No video, no audio. People in the courtroom can, of course, see and hear this. Okay, so let's go forward. Oh, okay, wait. Let's see what happens here. Okay, there's still no sound. Wait for it.
1:40 to allow for enough time there and back. Okay.
Jury's exiting.
So did he already? It's lunchtime now.
Thank you, Williams. Okay, and with that, we'll be in recess until,
Your Honor.
yes, ma'am.
Very quickly, the state has one issue. May the court dismiss the material witness warrant that was signed for the witness yesterday?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Craig
Parker.
Weston, to be specific.
Very important.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
There's just one thing. I have to go file objections to a PSR real quick on the lunch break. If I'm a few minutes late, just to tell you ahead of time, that will be why. But
Oh, I understand.
Okay.
Somehow life goes on, doesn't it? We
it
still have
does,
requirements.
and federal court does not care what I'm doing over here, so.
So, the time now is 12:38. We'll plan to start back up at 1:40. Okay? We're in recess.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Okay, Shiva said, thanks, Gina, wonderful mods, for providing a safe place for us amongst the chaos. You are all a daily reminder that beautiful people still exist in the ugliness of this world. Justice for Baby Q. Thank you so much. Okay, so now, for when gathering, that's lunch break, right? Okay, so we're going forward again. Oh boy, are they back yet? Oh dear. Oh no. Now we've caught up with the feed completely. Also, because when they come back from lunch, I think they're not showing the witness. So that's a little bit awkward. The lunch is, now they say live court on lunch break until 2:10. Well, now, until 2:10. Is that so? Okay, so hold on. Let me refresh the feed. Stand by. All right. Yep. So I've refreshed the feed and they say they're coming back at 2:10, and that means they're 9 minutes late already. Okay, so, and Jeanette said, I think the defense attorney would be really good if he had actual stuff to work with. I mean, yeah, shame. He doesn't have all that much to work with, right? Let me see if I can get the presentation or something like that going for us. How about that? I think I've shown you guys the indictment before already as well throughout our streams. So let's just see how much time we'll actually have. Okay, I'm going to be monitoring the feed and let's hope that they come back soon. That would be great. Then we'll be all caught up. Although, I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone. Let me see if there's an email. Anyone in the courtroom? Nope. Not that I can see. Okay, so we're going to have to do some presentation time a little bit again. I'll be looking at your chat as well to see if you have any questions. So Quinton, 20-month-old Quinton Simon was reported missing on October 5th of 2022 in the area of Buckhalter Road and Girard in Chatham County, Savannah, Georgia. He was last seen wearing a light blue Sesame Street shirt with black shorts or bottom. That's why we're sharing blue hearts for Quinton in the chat. And the babysitter, Michelle Diana McCarter, was on the stand and she said that he loved bubbles and he loved cheese. So we've also got that, right? You guys say they're back on. I don't see them back on here. Maybe on Law and Crime. Okay, I'll check now. There's different feeds. So I'm just going to monitor that. Just hold on 1 second. So just for anyone who doesn't know, there's a trial prep video and you can watch this entire presentation. I quickly want to show you the text message as well that leaked of Billy Joe, Leilani's mother. So just hold on. So after a 6-week search for him and with the help of the FBI, on November 18th of 2022, his partial remains were found in a Chatham County landfill. His mother, 24, she's now 24 years old, Leilani Simon, was named the prime suspect. Then she was 22, prime suspect. They publicly stated she was the prime suspect already on October 13th of 2022. That's why there were so many protests as well outside the house. There were a lot of YouTubers there, a lot of protesters outside the house saying, Leilani, where is Quinton? Where is Quinton? The whole time, right? So, but some of them got arrested as well because they started really like harassing, the neighborhood. So, you see, I can see now the cameras are going off again. Right? I'm just monitoring both feeds. Alrighty, so Leilani was arrested on November 21st of 2022, and she was charged with the murder of her missing toddler as well as concealing the death of another, false statements or writings to conceal facts or fraudulent documents in matters of government, and false report of a crime. Just going to see what's going on there. Yeah, it seems like the Weston's testimony is happening now and we can't see or hear it. So we'll continue with this. I also want to show you little video clips and we could even look at the indictment while we wait a little bit. So Leilani Simon, 22-year-old mother of three children, a 9-month-old, well, she was 4 months old at the time, a 4-month-old little girl, 20-month-old Quinton, and a 4-year-old son at the time, right? She was arrested, as I say, and she's facing 19 counts. Now, that's the question. Do you think that the state has proven their case? That's why I want to actually maybe show you the indictment, because 19 counts, including 1 count of malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder. Maybe we could look at the difference there of how they worded that, and 1 count of concealment of the death of another, right? So we have that. I'm just going to be switching feeds quickly because I just want to see what they're doing here. They're up to something. And then we can maybe look at the indictment. So hold on. Let's go back from when they're here. Okay.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone.
Stand by.
And we are going to get started. Could you please bring in Miss Simon? Thank you. Make sure everything is turned on.
Just have a look what they do here, and then we'll know what we're doing.
So we are now back on the record in SPCR 22-03364J6. Let the record reflect that Leilani Simon is present with her counsel, and the state is represented at their table as well. The jurors are not yet in the room. Is there anything that we need to attend to before we bring in the jurors?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Hilliard?
Nothing on behalf of the Simon judge, no.
Thank you very much. Please bring in the jurors.
Mr. Hilliard having a good backstretch there.
Okay.
Okay. Jurors coming in. Let's go forward a little bit. We're caught up with the feed now.
And then we'd like to pick up tomorrow morning with our remaining several witnesses. I hope to rest tomorrow afternoon and perhaps Thursday morning.
Oh, damn. Well, I hope we see Billy Joe. It'll be weird if we don't, right? Unless there's a reason. Interesting.
But I might be asking to end a little early today.
That's fine.
Thank you.
No objection, Judge. I second that motion.
All right. So tomorrow morning, let's plan to start. Oh, gosh, it's Wednesday, isn't it?
Judge's meeting. 10's fine, Judge.
All right.
If we can finish tomorrow, great. If not, we got Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
We will begin court tomorrow at 10 o'clock after the 9 o'clock judge's meeting.
Someone's like, did you just say Saturday? He did. Well, the state plans to rest this week, obviously, so it's a 2 to 3 week trial, as we said.
Are they going to knock at the door when they're ready?
So they're either going to rest tomorrow or on Thursday morning? That's the plan.
Can't do anything without them.
Let's go forward. Oh, my word. What is happening?
Oh, my. Okay. Well, I think we should have given the jurors an opportunity to pull it together after lunch. You know, I'm going to step off the bench. Please let Solomon know when the jurors are ready. Thank you.
Well, damn, okay.
We could begin.
There we go.
Please bring the jurors in. We're back on the record.
Jurors interim.
Linnea says, wait, the prosecution is going to rest tomorrow or on Thursday morning. Yes, that's what they said the plan is.
All right, very good.
This defense attorney, Robert Purse, is his name, right? He's always like so far off from the other two, right? From Leilani and the other defense attorney. He's like, stands a little distance away.
Right, please have a seat. Welcome back from lunch. So, was everyone able to comply with my instructions not to discuss the case, not to research the case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, excellent. So let's begin. Mr. Dean?
Kimberly Johnson.
Kimberly Johnson. That doesn't sound familiar. Does it sound familiar? Kimberly Johnson. Okay, so I'm assuming the Western testimony is done. There was that would be the dealer, right? So everybody that's Googling the dealer's name, Savannah, Georgia, and sending me, I'll probably have like 50 emails. Okay, I got it. I got the emails. I don't need any more of those emails. I'm not going to show it because there's no way for me to vet whether that is the guy that was on the stand or not. So it would be irresponsible of me to be like, oh my word, you guys, he's a gangster who did this and this and this. I have no idea. So I'm not going to show it. I really appreciate the emails though and the information. And I've read through some of those, the reports that you're sending as well. But yeah, I'm not sure. And we didn't get to see him. I don't have mugshots. I don't have anything to verify that. So let's move on here. Kimberly Johnson, I think that's it. So by the way, if anyone was excited to see the indictment and you're like, oh man, because I'm like that. If someone says, I'm going to show you a little clip and the indictment. Remember, we've already looked at a lot of the little clips together. The trial prep video has a lot of those in. I've already gone through the indictment with you, so you can find that in the trial days. You can find it in the trial prep. We talked about all the charges and everything. So just know you're not missing out. It is on the playlist, okay? Don't panic. I just wanted we have to do something, instead of staring at the wall. When there's long breaks, and we might have to later as well, because now we're all caught up with the feed. I know they said they might want to finish early today, but there might still be a few more comfort breaks because this court tends to take quite a few of those, right? So we shall see what we get up to, because we're all caught up now.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Step this way, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mr. Dean.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, I'm Kimberly Johnson. I work for the Federal Bureau of Investigation as a forensic accountant.
Is that different from a special agent?
Yes, no gun, no badge.
What does a forensic accountant do? What do you do day to day?
I'm tasked with using financial information as it relates to criminal investigation.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Mostly bank records, titles, tax records, whatever may come in, invoices from a company, just trying to put the picture together from the money side of an investigation.
So is it fair to say that day to day you're in an office analyzing Excel spreadsheets and things like this?
Yes, in an office behind a computer.
How long have you been doing that for the FBI?
Just short of 27 years.
Do you have any collateral duties or, I guess, like side responsibilities at the FBI?
I do. I'm collateral duty as a member of the evidence response team.
And what is the evidence response team?
We are a team that goes out for searches and crime scenes, and we're responsible for collecting and packaging evidence that's discovered.
How did you, as a forensic accountant, become a member of the evidence response team?
It was voluntary, and like I said, it's collateral to my regular job. And me personally, I was motivated after 9/11.
Is it a volunteer duty or service on the ERT?
Yes, it's absolutely voluntary.
In your capacity as a member of the evidence response team, were you involved in the landfill search looking for Quinton Simon?
I was.
Can you tell us how you were involved initially?
Yes, initially I was just a searcher called up to help work the lines. Later in the search, I had a few days where I acted as team leader.
And what does the team leader do out there?
Basically responsible for managing the search and the personnel on that day.
And were you the team leader on duty at the Waste Management Superior Landfill on the day that the search team out there found Quinton?
I was.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about the layout of the landfill search. What was the search area? Can you describe that?
It was basically the area that was identified in the landfill where they were digging the trash out for us to search.
Like sort of a hillside
Yeah.
of garbage?
Yes.
And what was the search deck?
The deck was where they actually spread the garbage that they'd taken out of the search area. They spread it along the deck so we could go through and manually search through it for what we were looking for.
So aside from the search area, kind of up on the hill and the search deck where everything was being laid out to be searched, what else was out there? What was the rest of the setup like?
So, kind of looking at it from the perspective of walking to the deck, there was a road that we would enter in from, and
Now,
then.
Before you go, is that the perimeter road that kind of goes around the landfill?
That's correct.
Okay, go ahead.
So there was kind of a driveway, is how I would describe it, that we would, after we got our PPE on and such, we would walk up onto the deck. So from the perspective of walking towards the deck, on the right side, they had tents and chairs set up for us to be able to take breaks without actually leaving the search deck and having to take all of our equipment off. To the left, there was an area where the deck boss and the logistics people and the safety officers kind of observed us as we were searching. So that's kind of how it's split.
What about the forensic anthropologist? Was there a forensic anthropologist out there?
There was, and she was, so turning around and walking towards the road, she was kind of, as you exited the driveway, she was on the other side of the road set up in a tent. Then to the right of her, there was a tent with all of the protective equipment. That's where we would grab our stuff. To the right of that, there was a tent where we could sit and put our suits on and everything. There was drinks in there. That's where they would set out the lunches for us to grab. And then to the left of the tent, there was another supply trailer. So that was like extra supplies. So the logistics guys would bring them from there to the tent if we were running low on gloves or whatever.
I'd like to ask you a few questions about the different personnel that was or were out there, and their different roles. You've talked about the team leader role a little bit. As a team leader, what sort of gear did you have on a day-to-day basis?
Pretty much the same as searchers. We were dressed out in regular PPE. In addition, there we had buckets or those silver like catering trays that we would collect items that people found while they were searching that would then go to the forensic anthropologist to scan through.
So you had a bucket or a tray?
Yeah, like the Home Depot, like the 5-gallon bucket, or like I said, those silver catering trays.
And what would you do with the bucket or tray? Just kind of walk me through how that would work.
Okay. We didn't want to leave the deck because we were suited up. So there'd be a runner that would come up and meet us kind of at that driveway area and take whatever we had collected from the line and then take it across the road to the tent where the forensic anthropologist was so she could do her screening.
Wow. So this lady is a FBI forensic accountant, but she volunteered to help search for Quinton at that landfill. And they said there were about 25 to 30 volunteers throughout the entire month that they searched for Quinton. Oh man, and they worked long hours and, really raking through all of that trash to try to find the partial remains of a little boy, 20-month-old Quinton Simon. I mean, that's really, wow. They were so dedicated, and it's so amazing that they were able to find those partial remains. It really helped get Leilani arrested, because up to that point, the police believed that his partial remains would be in the landfill, but they didn't have that proof yet. So, sure. And it's not guaranteed. It's a very small chance of them finding that, right? Okay, so we're hearing about that process now, of course.
What was the process of collecting material from the line? Just what did that look like? You have this bucket in your hand. What happens?
So everybody did it a little bit different, each individual. Most people, when they got dressed, we called it a bone bag on there. They taped it to their suit and used tongs to pull out things that they thought were of interest, and it would go to the bone bag. It saved you from having to call somebody over every time you found something. So at the end of the line, when we were done, it was considered complete. Then we'd go along that line and basically dump everything into the buckets out of the trays and then send them across the road.
All right, so it's the individual searchers that have the bone bag, and then at the end of that line, all that gets dumped in the bucket and run to the anthropologist across the road, if I understand you correctly?
Correct.
Okay. Tell me about the searchers. Who were these people, and what were they wearing and using in terms of equipment?
Okay. There was, we had representatives from federal, state, and local departments. I think over the 5-week span, there was over 75 different people that came out to help us search. The PPE, it started with a pair of steel-toe boots. They were required, and then a white Tyvek suit, which is the white suits that look like paper. They're not paper. They're more like a nylon plastic, not very breathable, so pretty hot. And then we had booties over that we were duct taped around our ankles, and then a yellow like plastic bootie over that, like a taller boot on top of that. Then we had safety vest on. We were gloved up. Most people put cotton gloves on, and then what we call a nitrile glove, which is like a surgical glove. And then that was duct taped to the Tyvek suit. And then we put work gloves on top of that. And then we had boonie caps, most people, because it has a wide brim to kind of keep the sun off of us. We were required to wear safety goggles and what we call a half face respirator. So if you can imagine like an oxygen mask is how it fits over your mouth and nose. And then it has like detachable, not reusable, throwaway filters on them. They also were hot, but it helped us keep the smell down. So we didn't like wearing them, but it was helpful. Like I said, bone bags taped on our hips.
Shame. Okay, let me just show you a picture here of what she's describing. They had to dress like this. My goodness. Look at it. You know how hot that must have been as well. As they say, it wasn't very breathable material. Obviously, they have to protect themselves. Detective Lemmons actually said there's obviously, if they're looking through all of that, there's many ways that in the trash they could get cut. There's metal and glass and all sorts of things, right? Sure. I mean, they really did so amazingly. It's so nice to see someone on the stand who was part of that volunteer team for a month. I mean, wow. Okay.
I think you mentioned tongs earlier. Was there any other sort of implement that y'all would use for the actual searching of the lines themselves?
Yes, we used, I think they call them fireman's rakes, but they're big 6-foot-ish long, heavy kind of rakes. And they've got 3 or 4 prongs, like wide prongs on the end, to kind of rake through the trash and pick out stuff as you're going through it. So
now,
let me show you that as well. I'm getting images. Sorry, if you see the screen go dark for a second, it's because I'm busy screenshotting things for you. So here we go. These are the rakes they're talking about. Wow. Look at that. If you don't go anywhere now, but if later you want to look on YouTube and you look at Quinton Simon landfill search, there's some videos as well, like drone footage and things that people had taken at the time of this, because it went on for so long. And oh my goodness, it was just so grueling, especially also what they were looking for. Wow, look at that. Okay, so let's keep going.
We're going to see some pictures, but I just want to ask you, what does trash look like as you're going through it on the search deck? We all throw away bags of trash and they get carried away from our house and then they're gone. But what does it look like by the time that you're out there on the search deck going through it?
it doesn't look like a pile of bags. By the time it got to the point where we saw it, it had been shredded and mashed and mixed with dirt. So it's kind of just a gray, muddy looking field. You do occasionally find an intact bag or an intact piece of furniture or a roll of carpet, but most of the things that we found were broken in pieces. And if we would find like an intact bag, you'd get together with, another person or two other people to kind of rip those bags open to make sure that there wasn't anything that was of interest in there, or unroll the carpet rolls.
Now, were there heavy equipment operators out there helping you all conduct the search?
There were.
Can you tell me what kind of gear they were using and what they were doing with it?
So there was an excavator on the hill at the search area that would scoop the trash out and put it in a dump truck. And then once the dump truck was full, they would drive it up down to the deck and then kind of bounce along and kind of dump the trash out in kind of a line. And then there was a smaller excavator that came along and kind of spread it so it wasn't quite so deep, spread it thin, so it was a little bit easier to get through because it's pretty heavy.
And once the excavator had come and sort of spread it out on the deck, what do you call that?
I called it a line. I don't know if people may have called it different things, but I just referred to it as a line.
Okay. Other personnel, you mentioned the forensic anthropologist at this point. I think this person has come up. Who was this person? Not necessarily the name, but where they came from and how they got there.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not good with names. She was, my understanding, contracted from Georgia Southern University, and she would come out to provide that expertise, and she would normally bring one or two of her students with her to help her with the task.
And what was the purpose she was serving out there? What was her function?
She was the subject matter expert on the bones and things that we may find. In our roles, I'm no expert at the difference between what this bone looks like and what this bone looks like. So we picked up the bones, and then she let us know, if they were of any importance or not. So.
Okay. So it's like a screening role.
A screening role, for sure.
Might be of human origin. This definitely isn't, that kind of thing.
Correct.
Now, just to be clear, this is a different person in a different role from the forensic anthropologist at the lab at Quantico.
Oh, yes.
From in this trial.
Yes.
Okay. Why do you need this forensic anthropologist out there conducting this screening role? Do you find a lot of bones in the landfill?
You do.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we probably, to say hundreds of bones a day would probably not be exaggerating. If you can imagine every chicken wing place, barbecue restaurant, animals that were disposed of, there's a lot of bones.
And can you describe kind of how the screening process would work from emptying the contents of the bone bags into the bucket onward?
Yeah, like I said, the runner would come and get them off the deck from us, take them to the forensic anthropologist. Wasn't really involved in her actual process, but she would go through everything that we had picked up and determine if there was anything of a human nature, and if not, then it's my understanding that they were then thrown away.
Now, I'd like to ask you just about kind of the workflow of the day, starting with everybody getting together to go to the landfill on a given morning.
Okay.
Can you tell us about that? What did a day look like?
Sure. We usually started the day pretty early. Like I said, when we first got started, it was pretty hot during the day, so the earlier we could get started, the better. We would rally at Scottsdale Park, and that was where the command post was set up, and there was a building where we could sit around and get ready for the day. About 7:30, we'd try to start a briefing. Usually it started with the search team leader that would just brief up from anything that had occurred the day before. If we had anybody there that was new, kind of explain what we were there for, what we were looking for. After that, usually a member of the case investigative team would brief us up on any investigative updates. And then we would hear from the logistics guys and anything we needed to know about the deck, the heavy equipment operators, anything that was going on with the search area or deck. And then the safety officers would just again remind us to keep our safety glasses on. Those were really hot, so a lot of times you just want to tip them up a little bit to breathe. And then to make sure everybody's staying hydrated and not falling out on the line or anything. After the brief was done, we'd load up in a couple of transport vehicles that would take us to the actual up the road and to the search area where we would dress out. We would get all our PPE on and usually try to be like on the line between 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning. We would search lines until about lunchtime and then take our lunch break. At the point we took our lunch break, like I said, there was that area where we could like grab something to drink without getting out of our PPE. But for lunch break, we had to be cut out. So if you can imagine somebody with a razor cutter coming down your back, kind of cutting you out of these things so you can throw it away. Do the lunch and then repeat after lunch, putting all the PPE back on, headed back to the line until we quit for the day. Sometime between 4 and 5 usually is what we aimed for. It all depended on where we were in amount of lines, what the daylight was doing, that sort of thing. If there was anything special happening, we would again get cut out. We'd have a brief if there was anything that we needed to relay for that from the day at that point, and transport back to the park, and everybody would break for the day.
Sure, the dedication, right? And Tina says all of this and Leilani out partying with her mom. Yes, while they were doing all of this, Leilani was out with her mom, having Patron shots, flirting with waiters. That was on around, I think it was October 18th. So can you imagine? While they were doing all of this, Leilani and her mom were having fun. That is so crazy. Oh my goodness. The contrast is just listen to what they had to do and what they had to go through. Oh man.
How many days a week was the landfill search conducted?
The first week it was only 4 days because they didn't start till Tuesday. The next 2 weeks I think was 5. The week after that was only 3 because there was a tropical storm coming in, so I shut it down I think Wednesday of that week. And then the next.
That was Hurricane Nicole, and they actually had to shut down the search for 4 days. And I just remember how worried we were as well. Especially, do you guys remember? We're like, what? They stopped for the weekend, but obviously it's volunteers and they're working their butts off to try to find any sign of Quinton. So yeah, on Saturdays and Sundays they generally didn't go out there. We're like, what? They're just not going to go out there? And then when the tropical storm came through, that Hurricane Nicole, oh my goodness, we were very worried then as well. So it's really amazing that they found what they were able to find of Quinton Simon.
The final 2 weeks, I think, or if I'm getting my dates messed up, but the rest of them were 5-day weeks. So it was a 5-day week except for the beginning and the tropical storm week.
Now, in terms of the searchers out on the deck walking the lines, was that an all volunteer duty?
Absolutely.
How long did it take to get into this PPE in the morning initially and then after lunch?
Probably 30 minutes by the time you're taped up and you help tape your buddies up, and so it is probably a 30-minute process.
At some point, did a photographer with the FBI come out there and take a series of photographs to kind of memorialize the search and what it looked like?
Yes.
Do you see in front of you an exhibit marked as State's Exhibit 76?
I do.
Can you flip through this and let me know when you're ready to talk about it?
It must be quite hectic for her to see the pictures again, and you'd be reliving it.
Okay.
Is this a selection of photographs of the landfill search operation?
Yes.
Do they fairly and accurately depict the operation as it appeared to you?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move these in as State's Exhibit 76.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, this first photo here, can you describe where the photographer is standing as this picture is taken?
Yeah, kind of at the base. I talked about the driveway that we walked up to get to the deck. So she's like kind of to the right of that driveway. So the deck would be the upper left. The search area would be, upper right. The search area is on the left there with that excavator. And then the road, these guys here are kind of standing on the inside of the road.
So this is like that perimeter road that runs along the outside of the landfill?
Yes.
Okay. This next photograph, you described earlier there's an excavator up in the search area that would scoop out trash and load it into a dump truck to be taken down to the search deck. Is that what we're seeing here, this excavator and this dump truck?
Yes.
Just look at what they were facing. Oh my word.
And this guy working this excavator and this other fellow standing out here, were they law enforcement or did they work for the landfill?
They were employees of the landfill. I believe one of the heavy equipment operators was from Chatham County Parks and Rec. And I think he just volunteered because he was knowledgeable in heavy equipment operations. So.
This next photograph, what are we looking at here?
Those are the boots. So you basically have the booties and the tie, that's the white Tyvek I was talking about, and then these yellow covers went over that, and that's what we were all duct taping with.
Okay, so you got
steel
boots under this gray booty here.
Correct.
Over the gray booty, you get the yellow rubber or plastic.
Yes, and the bone bags we used, those were actually the bags that the booties came in. So we kind of multi-purpose that. So about the size of a loaf of bread, if you can imagine that size of bag. So.
The next photograph, is this on that perimeter road?
Yes.
And then we can see the search area on the far right there.
Correct.
All right, and that with that driveway thing
Probably
just off frame to
the right, yeah.
Okay. What is happening in this picture?
It looks like we're suiting up to go back in probably after lunch, given as bright as it is.
About how many searchers on any given day?
It varied a lot more in the beginning, like could be close to 40 in the beginning, and then, as people had to split off and go do other things. Never less than 20 though, probably 20, 25, 30 on average.
The next picture, what are we seeing here? What's happening in this picture?
This is us coming onto the deck and just kind of getting perused by the safety officers to make sure that we had everything on that we were supposed to have.
I see a lot of people asking, did they have cadaver dogs searching the landfill? No, it would be way too hazardous for the cadaver dogs, right? On one hand, you would think, oh, well, that would help, but it's too hazardous for them. So that's why they've got so much. Look how they suited up here, like wow, like all the booties and the whole suit, the masks, just everything to make sure that they keep themselves safe because they're going through so much trash that's already been compacted and torn apart and all that, right, in this landfill.
The next picture?
Yeah, those are the fireman's rakes I was talking about. And they had a tarp that we could lay them on when we took breaks and at lunch, we could leave them on the deck without having to carry them out of the deck.
This next picture,
Yeah, that's the line. That's the process. They just lined up in a straight line, or tried to, and then everybody just kind of took their 2 or 3 foot section and just kind of worked their way to the other side of the line.
now, zooming in on this, is this what we're looking at here, this garbage on the ground? Is this more or less representative of what this stuff looked like as y'all were going through it?
Yes.
What did it smell like out there?
It smelled bad. Like I said, the respirators help, but you'd go home and it would still be in your nose. Some people would put vapor rub underneath their nostrils to kind of help with it. So you cut yourself breathing out of your mouth as much as possible. So it's nasty.
What are we seeing in this picture here?
That's one of the buckets. Like I said, some people use the bone bags. Some people, we'd have buckets along the way that they could throw something into. And again, the process, it kind of varied by day. And like in this case, I don't know why, but we would start in a line and we would end up in a circle almost every single time. I'm not really sure how it happened. Tried to stay in straight and always ended up in a circle, but I guess.
Shame. They were searching so hard. They'd like, okay, we're staying in a straight line today. Ends up in a circle. I'm really glad that they're showing the jury all of this because, you know, we've seen a lot of this and the footage and everything, but to really paint the picture, I think the state's doing a great job of just exactly how hard everyone worked to find any remains of Quinton. I mean, and how amazing that really is. I really hope the jury realizes that after the trial, whatever the outcome may be, like, this was incredible. Hopefully they check out, you know, what did happen. I always wonder if jurors are curious after a trial's done to go and do more research on a case. So what they did was just absolutely incredible.
It worked, so.
This searcher right here, who appears to be, I don't know, tossing something into the bucket, perhaps. Do you recognize this person?
I'm just saying, but from the blonde ponytail, I would think it might be Officer Zurkee, but I'm not sure since we all kind of look the same in our get-ups there. So.
Fair enough. Do you remember Officer Zurkee being out there?
I do.
What do you remember about her involvement?
She had a knack for finding bones. She almost always had the fullest bone bag at the end of a line. She just had the eye to catch everything, I felt like. So she was really good at what she did. So.
What about her level of commitment to this operation?
Well, she was one of them that was there every day. So that says something. She was never sick or had to call off or anything.
Was that typical? I mean, were there people that were involved in this for a period of time and then, you know, tapped out after some days and unvolunteered, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know if it was so much unvolunteered, but, you know, this comes up in the middle of people's lives unexpectedly. So you might have a work commitment, you might have a personal commitment. But her and a few others from Chatham County PD were there every single day.
No reaction.
This next photograph with...
Damn, look, shame, man. They had to collect all these bones, which they said, of course, were sometimes chicken bones, all sorts of things. To think Leilani threw her son away like trash is just, still, I can't even say that enough. It's just so shocking, so horrifying. And she just sits there looking the same like that every day, right? Sorry, I went off camera there for a second because Mr. Grizzly, that's my husband, Raphael, he brought me some some juice. Okay, so we're all good.
This series of trays here, who are we looking at here?
Yeah, I believe that's the forensic anthropologist. Again, with the mask, it's kind of hard to tell, but and that's the catering tray I was talking about. So she would go through those. I separate things out, take a look, analyze it, screen it. That was what she was there for.
And just to be clear, this is not an image of Quinton's remains. This is just like
No,
a
yeah, it
given
looks
day.
like, just a regular, I say regular, but just the results of a line search.
Okay. And she's about to go through those and
Looks like it, yes.
determine that none of them are Quinton.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you about November 18, 2022, the day that Quinton was found. You said earlier you were the team leader out there that day.
I was.
What do you remember about how that unfolded?
Started off like a regular search day. It was much cooler than it had been, which everybody was, it was a relief not to be so hot. It was also the last day we were going to search before shutting down for that Thanksgiving holiday. It had been determined that we weren't going to work that week. We were going to suspend the search until after Thanksgiving. So it was kind of the last day and then everybody was going to get a break.
And when did that day go from being the normal kind of tedious day like you'd been having to something different?
About midday. It was before lunch. Someone signaled from the line that if you found something that seemed unusual, you always kind of like raised your hand and gave a heads up. And this occurred that morning, late morning, indicated that they had found something that didn't look like everything else we've been seeing. It appeared to be a piece of a skull.
After that was
Shame. And they showed that picture on one of the days. I think it was day 2 or so. I ended up blurring that out. It was quite hectic. But yes, they showed some of that. Also, some of you asking, is the judge... Oh, sorry. Some of you asking if it's not going to come in to evidence that Leilani and her mother were partying their asses off while this was all going on. No, that's the one thing that the judge ruled before the trial started that will not be coming into this trial. So the jury will not hear that. So they'll only know about that afterwards. You know, what was Leilani doing at the time? Oh, partying. Having Patron shots while all these volunteers were out there searching through that landfill.
found, what do you remember about how things played out next?
That was taken to the forensic anthropologist right away. We finished that line that we were working on, took everything that we had collected to the forensic anthropologist, cut out, and went ahead and went to lunch. And I don't remember if it was during lunch or right after we went back after lunch to start the next line. But the forensic anthropologist confirmed that she thought we did have human remains. So we continued the search of the line, and then at some point they determined that we needed to respread the line we did before lunch and search it again.
All told, how many different lines do you remember Quinton being found over?
I think just a couple, because we did, I want to say 2 after that we didn't find anything else in.
And is that how y'all decided kind of you were at a stopping point?
Yeah, I think it was that. The forensic anthropologist, I think, determined that there was enough that had been collected to do, identification purposes. It was getting late. We were running out of daylight. So I think the people that decided those things decided that we were at a place where we could stop.
About how long do you remember it being from, the moment that very recognizable piece of skull is found to when y'all finished up and were done for that day?
It was late. It was getting dark because it was after the time change. I I don't think we got back to the parking lot till after 5. I drove home in the dark, so we were out there quite a while because there was a lot of things to do. On top of what we had found, we were breaking down for the week, closing things up and stuff. So,
at some point during that sort of ongoing process of finding Quinton that day, did the case agents show up to take custody of Quinton and package his remains?
yes, I think all of the investigative agents were there by mid-afternoon at the latest.
And was this your last day at the landfill, or did you have to come back at any point for anything else?
It was the last search day, as it turned out. We didn't know that at the time. The scene was not closed because we didn't know for sure what had been found. But after that was confirmed, preliminary confirmation that it was likely Quinton's remains, then we went back the Monday after Thanksgiving, which I think was the 28th of November, and we broke the scene down at that point.
One moment, please. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hilliard?
I don't have any questions for this witness, Judge.
All right, may she be excused?
I was going to say, oh dear. What questions will the defense ask now? Okay, they don't have questions.
Yes.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Wow, if any of the volunteers are watching here with us, or if you ever see this, my goodness, we are so proud of them, right, you guys? Kimberly Johnson and the 25 to 30 people that were out there every day searching in those conditions. Oh, man. I mean, it's because of them that we're even here today, seeing, hopefully, justice for Quinton Simon. Because imagine if they didn't find anything. I don't think they would have ever given up. But you know how landfill searches go. We see it plenty of times in true crime. Oftentimes they find absolutely nothing. So that was so amazing. So I hope somebody tells them, if somebody's watching and you know them or know somebody that was there as a volunteer, please tell them we are so, so proud of them.
Thank you. All right. And so the state may call its next witness.
Sophia Zurkee.
Sophia Zurkee. Yeah, you guys are all saying so proud of the volunteers at the landfill. You guys are saying they are Grizzly. They are honorary Grizzlies, yes. Actually, hold on one moment. Somebody sent me an article about the dealer testifying because, the reporters had asked media, remember the court TV lady here, this lady here? She asked if media is allowed to report on what Craig Weston testifies. So let me just quickly read this to you. It says, Craig Weston testifies. There's been a lot of attention to the issue of Leilani Simon's relationship with her dealer, the drug dealer, by the prosecution, and Tuesday, 2 witnesses finally testified about it. You may remember, Monday, Judge Stokes ruled the man that prosecutors call Leilani Simon's drug dealer, 48-year-old Craig Weston, would be allowed to testify at the trial. This followed a previous ruling that she made that sexually charged text messages between Weston and Simon would also be allowed in court. The prosecution said when they moved to have the relationship admitted in court, they wanted to show how broken Leilani's relationship with Danny was, and that her emotional turmoil about the relationship was ultimately what led to her snapping and killing her son. The prosecution called Detective Marion Lemmons back to the stand to read through some of the messages between Simon and Weston. We aren't airing the text messages because of the content, but the prosecution asked point blank what the messages indicated to the detective. Can you kind of summarize what these communications show as far as what was going on between the two of them during, say, late September, early October? Asked prosecutor Tim Dean. So pretty much from when Leilani saved Craig into a phone and shows that they began a sexual relationship and were scheduling meetups to have sexual intercourse, replied Detective Lemmons. The defense then asked Lemmons to read other messages. We saw that as well. Weston himself did also testify. The prosecution asked the judge that Weston's testimony not be recorded or broadcast because of the sexual nature of the subject. The defense objected, but Judge Stokes ultimately decided Weston's testimony would not be recorded or broadcasted. WTOC was still in the courtroom, however, and Weston's testimony only lasted a few minutes. Wow. It's like all of that, and he was only on there for a few minutes. They say the prosecution didn't ask him about any of the sexual messages, but they did ask him whether he was in the area of Arkwright Lane the night before Quinton went missing. He said under oath that he was not in the area. Interesting. Investigators have... One more time. The prosecution didn't ask him about any of the sexual messages, but they did ask him whether he was in the area of Arkwright Lane the night before Quinton went missing. He said under oath that he was not in the area. Wasn't he in the area? Arkwright Lane, we've heard so much. Why would he say he wasn't? He was not in the area. I'm confused. But he had immunity, yes. So investigators have already testified that GPS data from Leilani's phone show that she went to the area that night, but she wasn't there for long, as she typically was when meeting up with him. Okay. We would have been so confused. What? He was not in the area? Where'd she go? Who'd she meet up with then? What? Okay, let's keep going.
Please, the clerk, to raise your right hand.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
This way, ma'am.
Thank you to all the Grizzlies who sent me that article. I really appreciate it.
All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
My name is Sophia Zurkee.
That is the last name that I'm going to have to ask you to spell.
Zurkee.
And I take...
Mr. Dean, make sure you have your mic on.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I take it you're a Chatham County police officer?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been with the Chatham County Police
I have
Department?
been with the Chatham County Police Department since September of 2021.
Did you work at any other police departments prior to joining the Chatham County Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Where was that?
The Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office in Kansas.
Okay. How'd you end up coming here from Kansas?
I moved here. Being in law enforcement, it's a very stressful job, so Georgia offers a lot to do outside of work, the ocean, the beach, so it's very beautiful here.
Now, you're here today because you're the first person to find a piece of Quinton, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'd like to show you slide 8 from State's Exhibit 3, which has already been admitted into evidence.
I just want to be careful with this. What are they showing?
This has been introduced and admitted into evidence as a still frame from Sergeant Stewart's body-worn camera from the initial response to 535 Buckhalter Road
Okay.
on October 5th.
Also, just to finish the conversation there about the dealer on the stand, you guys are right. The dealer likely worked with at least one or more in a team. Maybe he wasn't there and his assistant or cousin, because the cousin was also apparently around there, covered the transaction. True.
Is that you there?
Yes, sir, it is.
Was this your beat that you were patrolling that day or no?
It was not. I was in beat 8 that day. This is considered beat 7.
And how did you end up there?
When there's a missing child, time is of the essence, so it's all hands on deck at that point. So I went over to assist with the search.
And on this day, were you involved in canvassing the neighborhood or the woods or something like that, looking for Quinton?
Yes, sir.
So is it fair to say that you started looking for Quinton initially on October 5th?
Yes, sir.
Day 1. Later, did you become involved in the search of the landfill?
Yes, sir.
How did you become involved in that?
I asked to be a volunteer to help.
Had you heard, I presume you had heard that this was a thing that was about to start happening?
Correct.
How did you hear about it?
Our department.
And were they soliciting, like, department-wide for volunteers or what?
I can't recall on that. I just know they asked us to be some extra hands to help.
And you volunteered, you say?
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Being one of the first on scene, I wanted to see it through and to help in any way that I could.
And going forward from that, were you involved as a searcher at the landfill?
Yes, sir.
What day did you start on? Not necessarily the date, but like, was it the first day of the landfill search?
Yes, I was there for the first day.
And were you involved throughout?
Yes.
Was there any day that search operation was going on that you weren't there?
No, sir.
Could you have gotten out of it at some point if you had wanted to?
Yes.
What was that like doing that for, I don't know, 5 weeks or whatever it was?
It was a lot. It was mentally, emotionally, and physically draining every single day.
Now I'd like to draw your attention to November 18, 2022, the day that Quinton was found out there. What do you remember about the morning?
From what I can recall, it was like every other morning it started out. We have a briefing, kind of talk about how the day's going to go. We get ready when we start searching. Would you like me to kind of go through, our attire, be more specific in that aspect? Or?
No, we've had that with a previous witness. So I guess let me ask you this. In the morning, was it a normal day?
Yes, sir.
What do you remember about the point where it became not a normal day?
I was just breaking through the garbage, and then I had observed a white small object could fit in the palm of my hand. It looked like bone to me, so I remember seeing my Lieutenant Foster, because they were all on the side, and contacting him, and they came over and removed it.
I'd like to approach with what's been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 77.
And 77 has been admitted, is that correct?
It has, Judge.
Okay.
That was the one.
Can you look through here and tell me if you recognize the object that you're describing?
Yes, I do.
Is that it on the first page there?
Yes, sir.
Can you pull this out and display it to the jury, please?
Yes. This is the object that I was talking about.
What do you remember happening from there?
I just remember notifying.
Sorry, momentarily took it off the screen in case, but they didn't actually show it. They showed it to the jury, not to the camera. Good job, Court TV. Right? Oh my word! Wow. So she was also a volunteer. So she works at the Chatham County PD, and she volunteered at the landfill, and she was there every day searching for Quinton, wanting to help because she was there at Buckhalter Road from day one when Leilani had reported Quinton missing, and she wanted to help find him. So yeah.
My lieutenant, and then them coming over and collecting it.
And then after that?
We continued to search.
And did you yourself find any more items of note?
I don't recall, because really any items that we found that we thought were potentially bones, we would put in the buckets for them to collect and to get tested. So whether or not specifically I found any other items that were tested,
it's a difficult thing for you to
right.
answer, right? Let me ask you this. After having been out there for weeks, going through line after line, tell me what it felt like to see that little piece of Quinton's skull and pick it up and realize what it was.
It was heartbreaking.
Was it rewarding also? I have no further questions, Your Honor.
I think
I don't have any questions, Judge.
Look at Leilani just sitting there emotionless. Actually quite snarky, side-eyeing that lady. Wow. Leilani's giving her a dirty look as she leaves. Leilani, she found your son. Yeah, in a landfill. Mm-hmm. Wow. Sure.
Maybe if I'm going to close the door. Okay. And so at this point, Mr. Dean, does the state have another witness to call today?
One moment, please, Your Honor.
Is she crying? I don't think so. Mr. Hilliard, the defense looks. Did you see how he looks at him? He's like looking at him almost like, no, you don't have another witness for today, do you?
Thank you.
Wow.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have an early day.
Oh, my word.
Never quite know what we're going to have, but today is an early day. We're going to stop here. I'm going to excuse you for the evening with the instructions that you probably know by heart now. Don't discuss the case. Don't do any research. Don't look at any news. Don't observe any news. Don't consume any news. All right? And I wish you all a good night.
Jury's exiting.
Yeah, the defense, what is she? Come on, Leilani. Defense is like, grab a tissue. Okay. There's one tear. Yeah, because you know it's over, right? Crying for yourself? My goodness. Yes, Ace, that must have been so difficult. They have to they're standing there, they're raking in it, they're looking in every bit of it. The cameraman's like, or camera person, sorry, we don't know. Zooming in, like, okay, look at that. We had a tear. One tear. She's crying for a future. In my opinion. Disclaimer. Okay, sound is off.
Thank you. Everyone, please have a seat. Before we go, I do have the material witness arrest warrant. I'm going to dismiss both, or just one?
Just the one for Craig Weston, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant, I'm going to hand that back down to you. I will dismiss this one, and I am going to do it the rough way.
It was like it's a Sharpie, right? But is it a Sharpie? Or it's a pen? It's a Sharpie, yeah. Just looks so gold in that light. Look at it. You guys are gonna be like, what? Gee, stationery. Yes, look at it. Is it a gold Sharpie? No, normal Sharpie. Let's just see if anything else happens here. It doesn't look like it. It looks like this is the end of the day. They finished so early today. So late yesterday.
Okay. So I've dismissed the material witness arrest order for Craig Weston. The other one remains. Okay. So, is there anything that we need to turn our attention to first, turning to the state?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Hilliard?
Not that I'm aware of this now.
All right, very good. We will resume court tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
This defense attorney, he just cracks me up. He's just so far away from there. These are public defenders, right? This is Mr. Hilliard. This is Robert Purse. I think his name is a Purse. Look, he's like already way back there. He's ready. He's packed his baggie. ready to go.
And with that, we're in recess until then.
Okay. Wow. Tomorrow, they said what? They start at 10, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was also the defense attorney being like, well, 10 o'clock is fine, right? 10 o'clock is fine. He wants to, like, Mr. Hilliard, remember the day when he said he's tired? The jury's tired. They can finish early. Oh, goodness, we haven't seen that before. And the other day he also said he's got a headache, you know? So yeah, he's probably very happy that they finished nice and early today. And they'll be back late-ish tomorrow. That'll be at 10 o'clock. Obviously, the cameras are delayed by half an hour, so they'll probably start at 10:30 Eastern. And that would mean, you know, we start about an hour and a half to 2 hours after that, depending on how the court day goes, right? Because as you can see, today was actually perfect timing for us, but sometimes when it's like, oh crap, like a 15-minute break becomes 45 to an hour. And then there's also a witness not shown on camera. Well, damn, we're going to stare at the wall then for like an hour. And we need to maintain the attention span. Hey, we're all like, what? What's happening now? What are we going to do? Well, they would read the indictment and go over the presentation and we'd be productive anyway. But anyway, thanks everyone. Thank you so much for watching day 7 with me. Tomorrow we'll meet for day 8. And the prosecution said that tomorrow they plan to rest their case tomorrow or on Thursday morning. So, damn, we'll see who their final witnesses will be, and we'll see, well, does the defense, do they have witnesses? Somebody said earlier, what if Leilani's mother is a witness for the defense? Oh my word, that'll be interesting. And will she take the stand? That, of course, is a question that we'll have. I had a poll going earlier, and 23% said yes, and the rest said no, you don't think so. So majority voted that you do not think she'll take the stand. So let's do another poll again tomorrow. We'll do that and just see what you guys think. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon. And again, if you haven't seen the video that I did with the lawyer, you know, you can go check it out because we did discuss this case, and I asked Peter Tragos a lot of legal questions about this case, you know, and the state's having to prove murder when they don't actually know exactly how Quinton died, right? So I will see you all then. Thank you so much. Thank you, mods. Really appreciate it, and stay safe.